On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. There ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Of everything as we are drawing on closer. Sensational Sherry, good to see you. Divine Diamond, looking lovely tonight. Jeffrey DeRuin, good to have you here. And there's Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness. Enzo Sorrell, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. Dirt Road, my fellow Canadian, how are you? You're looking lovely tonight. And who else do we have here? Roy the Boy, good to have you back. We're running out of time here. Can we get this done? Super Duke, the man, the myth, the Sasquatch legend of World Bigfoot Radio right there. XUAP, nice to have you here. We are caught up, everyone. We're going to launch this thing in about 10 seconds. So remember, the Super Chat is open. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, horns up. Here comes our rockin' Bumblefoot. I lied. We got 20 seconds left. I can't believe I finished that quickly. Oh, well, we got Phil Minervino in the chat room. Mr. Lurksalot has snuck on in. Thank you for kicking off the Super Chat, Dirt Road. Really appreciate that. And Reverend Keith, I got an amen for you, buddy. Love you, man. Thank you for coming on in. And now, people, we're going to get going. So let's just do this thing. Mr. Bumblefoot, take it away. Horns up. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'm telling you, tonight we're going to blow your minds. Joel Lambert grew up performing on stage and in commercials before selling all he had and running off to join the U.S. Armed Forces, where he served as a Navy SEAL for 10 years, earning distinction and experiencing combat in places like Kosovo and Afghanistan. He has had roles in movies such as American Sniper, Patriots Day, and Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. I know my son will kill me if I don't ask him some questions on that. Alongside starring Ron Perlman in the soon-to-be-released How I Got There, and the awards season contender. And he is also all over Discovery Channel. You may know him from a lot of different shows. He's everywhere. This man is a legend in his own mind, my mind, your mind, and why not? This man has nothing to prove except to have fun in life because he deserves it. And here we are. Mr. Joel Lambert, thank you so much for joining us on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for that fantastic introduction. My mom couldn't have done any better.
Well, you know,
maybe the only one who agrees with all of it, though.
It's not often we get a former Navy SEAL in our show here. We do have a lot of veterans who tune us in, and we always love to say this is a safe place for veterans, and we love them all, and the job that you have done and every one of your comrades has done, both in the United States and where I am in Canada. We have a lot of people in the United Kingdom who listen as well. The Allies got to stick together, and that's what's going to bring us through all this hard times.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a privilege to do it, and I know just like every other veteran feels the same way. You know, sometimes it's just you look to your left and your right, and you see the caliber of people that you're, especially in the SEAL teams, that you're privilege to be counted among, and it just humbles you.
I got to ask you, because being a Navy SEAL isn't easy. I'll be honest with you. I have watched many a video on YouTube about what it's like to become a Navy SEAL. And you could not pay me enough to do that training. I mean, let's be honest.
They don't pay you very much at all.
You got a couple of screws loose up there in order to do that and put your body through that?
For me, and I think for a lot of people, even if we can't particularly articulate it, especially at the time, it's kind of a spiritual quest. It's kind of a hero's journey. It's kind of oh man, I'm blanking on names right now. It's a hero's journey. It's the Jungian archetype. It's something that drives us inside to take that hard left off the main road and go do the thing that scares you the most. And in that, we find our enlightenment, or we can.
When you finish Hell Week, I believe it's called Hell Week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is that like? Take us through Hell Week, and then when you finally know it's over.
Hell Week is something that happens, and it changes back and forth, but it's generally around the 5th week of training in first phase. So there's 3 phases of BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL training, which is the screening and selection process for people who are attempting to become Navy SEAls. And there's 4 phases, really. There's pre-phase, and there's first phase, there's second phase, and there's third phase. And you make it through all those phases, then you graduate to the next level of training, and then you go through that level of training, and then you go to a SEAL team. And so the Hell Week generally happens around the 5th week of training in first phase. So you go through pre-phase, which basically screens out everybody who just doesn't know what they're just ended up there by mistake or just is not prepared for it. And then first phase is when it really starts. And the 5th week of training, on Sunday evening, you are woken up by machine gun fire and you're pulled out onto the beach, and it begins. And all night, Sunday night, you're running around, boats on your head, logs on your head, in the water, out of the water, in the sand, out of the sand. And it goes on through Monday and Monday night and Tuesday night, Wednesday and Wednesday night, Thursday night. And then late Friday afternoon, you get secured from Hell Week. And then that ends the evolution. And Hell Week is brutal on the body. But what it really is, and I tell people this all the time, is BUDS is a mental game. We're trying to get into their mind and see if this is a person that can handle combat and the unfairness of everything that comes along with that with aplomb, that are just able to be smooth sailing when nothing is going their way. Because you have to have this sort of mental capacity for calm and for just being unflappable. And so we're testing that. But the way to get to the brain is to destroy the body. Is to hurt the body and crush the body and make the mind deal with that. So Hell Week, 5.5 days of nonstop movement, nonstop cold and terror and just abuse gets to the mind. Because one of the things that gets to the mind is that, like, when I finished Hell Week and they secured us, I sat down. Because you get a medical check. So you get several comprehensive medical checks throughout the week because so many things can go wrong. And your mind is so out of it that you won't notice it. But I sat down and I couldn't get back up. Dave, I couldn't get back up. They had to pick me up and carry me into my medical check, with my arms around Buddy's shoulders. And I get in and I had stress fractures. I had fractured both of my femurs. And I had known that I had a stress fracture in one of them going into Hell Week. But if I would have pointed that out, they would have pulled me out of training and I would have had to heal up and I would have to start everything all over again. And I wasn't going to do that. I was going to finish Hell Week. So because one of them was fractured, I compensated unknowingly enough so that the other one fractured. And so when my body and my mind finally realized, okay, it's over, it's done, the adrenaline, whatever it was that was pushing me on, said, okay, we're done, and stopped and sat down. And then the pain came and the inability to move and all those things then came. And I had to deal with those. But while I was doing them, my mind and it shut all that out and it focused on the mission at hand. And we have amazing capacities as human beings that we don't tap into except in very rare occasions. But we can push our bodies to do more than you can really ever imagine that they could.
Knowing that the job of a Navy SEAL is one of the most elite combat units in the world, and if not top two, I think that's a fair assessment,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You're going to get the call no matter where it is in the world, and you know that there's going to be an opportunity, whether you want it or not, to see combat duty. How were you prepared for yourself to go through that combat duty, knowing that that phone call could happen at any time?
Well, that's one of the things that we crave and we desire going in. I mean, you don't go into a job like this and do what is necessary to achieve it and not want to test yourself in those experiences. And that's what I wanted to do. Is it's not that I had this craving to kill people or to to be part of war, but what we do want to do is we want to strive against ourselves, and we just want to strive against others, and we want to push ourselves and experience the depths of our humanity. It's an exploration of our humanity is what it really is. And those combat experiences were, on one facet of them, they are brilliant and they are part of who we are as human beings, wired down deep. There's a lot of other things that I can say about them. I mean, it's something that can be very pure, I guess is what I'm getting at. It can be very, very pure.
I want to ask you, and this may sound like an absolutely silly question, but I honestly don't know the answer to it. You are so, as a Navy SEAL, brought up with training and the way things are going to go, preparing yourself for that inevitable call that could happen at any time, anywhere in the world, where you hop on a jet and you guys are gone. And you don't know where you're going until you get there. You don't know when you're going to come back until they say, let's go home. Were you ever scared? Did you have time to be scared?
That's interesting that you put it that way. Did you have time to be scared? And this is something that, so there's a Zen saying about meditation. I'm a big meditator. I wasn't when I was in the SEAL teams, but there's a saying that the swordsman or the warrior has no need for meditation because he is constantly in the present moment. Because if he's not in the present moment, he gets cut, he gets killed. And so there is this, I forgot the question.
well, just in regards, did you have time to be scared?
Yeah. Well, no, you don't, because you're so, for me anyway, there were times of I can look back and think of several times that I was very scared for my life, and justifiably so. But there are a couple things that prevent you from that. One is you have to be so invested in the present moment and where you are and what you're executing at that time to stay alive. Because if you aren't, you're dead. You fail. And the times I look back on my experiences in the teams that were near-death experiences, I never had time to be scared in the moment, because you have to be invested in it. Otherwise, you're not going to make it out of that moment. You have to be invested in your training and what you exactly have to do to get yourself out of that moment. And then afterwards, there are many times that even right now, I'll look back and recount some of my experiences and I'm terrified. Like, man, that was horrible. But at the time, it really wasn't, because I was just so invested in the moment. You have to be purely invested in that moment to win.
We always think of Navy SEALs as being indestructible, because of the training, because of the professionalism, because of the will to win. Did you ever, during your career, just kind of put your head down between your legs and just kind of say, you know what, this was the best time of my life, but maybe the worst time of my life as well?
Oh, absolutely. It was the best time of my life, and it was also the most miserable time of my life. 100%, without question.
So with that, how did you when you decided that that was enough, your body had had enough, and it was time to leave the service and get into a civilian type life, how did you find that transition for yourself?
How did I find the transition for myself when I decided to get out?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. And I think it's something that is not, that guys have the occasion to not do properly. And I did it properly, I think, but I fell into it kind of accidentally. I went to shore duty first. So instead of just jumping out of an active platoon in Iraq, Afghanistan, and then just going directly into civilian life, I went to BUDS and I became an instructor. So I taught second phase, and I was able to come full circle, close the circle, impart what I had gotten in my time in the teams into the next generation, make sure that I could give them the tools, not just operationally, but the tools to interact and be a productive member of a SEAL team in the ways that aren't just shooting and moving and communicating. And so that was really good for me to kind of close the loop, full circle. But then also it was an off ramp. So you're going at 100 miles an hour in a unit like a SEAL team. And you don't realize until you're around civilians, everything is just slow. It's like a F-16 trying to fly with a Cessna. There's no part of their speeds that can overlap. You know, the F-16 will just have to do racetracks while the Cessna's flying along. That's what it feels like. You feel like you're just moving so fast and experiencing so much that regular life is like it's moving through jello. So I was able to take this off ramp off the freeway and decelerate until, I hit the surface streets, and instead of 110 miles an hour, I hit them at 50. And so I was able to blend, to fit in a little bit.
But for a lot of your comrades who just step out, is it a tough job to just step out and all of a sudden, you go from wearing your uniform into civvies on a daily basis? I could just imagine the mental stress of that.
What I found, and what I think a lot of guys find, and I can't speak for all of us, of course, because every guy has his own experience and his own, he's his own man. But for me, it's difficult to leave the brotherhood and the support system that you have, and that's something that can be very difficult because it's a very tight-knit community, and I'm still plugged in and involved with that. But you go from living, eating, breathing, sleeping, doing everything with these guys, this one little group of guys, every waking moment really, into boom, you're cut loose on your own. It can be very, very jarring, and it can create a lot of problems, I think. And we've seen a lot of those problems. But to be able to decelerate a little bit and then try to find some things that will reconnect some of those wiring harnesses. The wiring is not messed up. It's just those big harnesses have been disconnected, and you just got to plug them back in. And so guys need to find a meditation practice for me has been huge. Guys need to find some artistic, creative, some sort of outlet, some sort of thing to reconnect themselves wholly, to reintegrate back in. And we as a community have been doing much, much better lately with having programs and such to facilitate those sorts of things. We were talking earlier about bodies being beat up. There's programs for that. There's the thing that changed a lot for me was a psychedelic therapy program that a group of vets, Marcus and Amber Capone, SEAL and his wife, have put together to bring special operations guys through ibogaine and 5-MeO DMT administered in a therapeutic setting. And the psychedelic therapy has been incredible for guys, for me particularly, and for a lot of other guys I know as well. So there are a lot of programs out there to help guys get in business, psychedelic therapy, physical programs like the one I just went through, mentoring programs with other businessmen, people that are in industries that you're trying to break into. There's a lot out there now. Guys just need to take advantage of it. And one of the things that we as SEALs are very bad at is accepting help, because we are all about helping out anybody who needs it in our community or outside our community, with money, with funds, with facilitating the program, whatever it may be. But we never want to be the one who needs help. Never, 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 never. You don't want to be the one taking help. You want to take it from somebody who needs it more than you. So you never want to be the one who takes it. And that's starting to change. I think guys are starting to the stigma is going away a little bit about post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injuries, things like that guys never wanted to admit to, never wanted that, or you're too strong for that. And then, it happens and somebody takes his own life, and then we have to come to terms. We have to face these things as well. And so there are a lot of programs out there where guys can get the help that we all need. It's just more a matter of the stigma going away that you need help.
We have Joel Lambert on tonight from Manhunt on Discovery Channel here on Spaced Out Radio. And Joel, I want to say, from all of us here at Spaced Out Radio, thank you so much for your service and everything that you have done. We really do appreciate it. We only got about 4 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour here. Going into the whole psychedelics aspect to try and calm the brain down. I mean, you're coming from a job where your brain is moving not at 100 miles an hour, but probably 300 miles an hour. And I don't know how you probably, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you probably had trouble sleeping. You had troubles, you were always sleeping with one eye open, like the Metallica song. I mean, how did psychedelics really help you kind of phase into that next level to calm the mind down and look more into yourself internally?
Well, that's a great question. Let me start with meditation first, because that was kind of the foundation for my psychedelic experiences. It kind of plowed the field, so to speak. And that's what's, I think, has really done more of the long-term work. But when I got out, I'd always been fascinated with Bushido and Zen and some of the Eastern Hinduism, some of the Eastern views of God and consciousness and existence. And so when I got out, I knew I needed to do some things to plug back in, to reconnect those wiring harnesses, and to just start getting used to parts of myself that had not been seen the light of day for 10 or 12 years. And so I found a Zen temple in Santa Monica, and the Zen sensei was this awesome dude, had an American flag sewn on his full sensei robes where he sat every morning. And
on December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. There ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
I thought, this guy, I got along with him. And so I started sitting Zazen, the Zen style meditation, for several years. And then I got turned on to transcendental meditation. And they gave me a scholarship to learn TM, transcendental meditation. And as I'm going through the training for that, my teacher told the class, as you're going through, as you're becoming a meditator, and as you're going through your first several months of meditation, things may come up. Physical things will come up that your body and your brain has not processed. As you're meditating, these things may activate and may come up. And I didn't think much of it. I'm like, okay, hippie, whatever. And then I start sitting meditation. It's 2 20-minute sessions a day. And I begin to, every time I sit down to start to meditate, my eyes get so heavy and I can't help but fall asleep. And I'm fighting sleep within just a couple of minutes. And I asked my teacher, Lynn, I'm like, this is weird. This is coming up for me in this sleep. And she said, well, did you sleep much when you were a Navy SEAL? I'm like, no, I didn't sleep at all. You just, sleep is not part of the lifestyle at all. And what sleep you get is really, really bad. And she said, well, that's what's happening. You're as you're meditating, it's processing it out. Your body's processing this out. She said, if you feel sleepy when you start to meditate, it's your body healing. Just lay down, stop meditating, and sleep. And so for like the first 3 or 4 weeks of my meditation practice, I would, in the morning and in the evening, start meditating, get sleepy, lay down for like an hour to a 3-hour beautiful, brilliant nap, and wake up feeling fantastic. And then one day it just stopped. It just absolutely stopped, and I was fine. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating. And that really pointed out the sleeping issue that I had that you mentioned. But as I started meditating and it created that as a practice in my life. When the psychedelic opportunity came in, I think I had the profound experience that I had on the psychedelics, partially because of my meditation practice, and it blew my meditation practice up about 3 or 4 levels. It was psychedelics. I am a huge proponent. I mean, I'm one of those guys who thinks the world should be doing psychedelics, but especially, I mean, so many problems would be solved, but that's a different discussion. But the psychedelic experience, psychedelics it just clears a pathway to your real self. You know, it clears a pathway to your real existence. And how big of a pathway that is, I guess, depends on the psychedelic and depends on where you're at in life and all of that. But, you know, it can show you, it can reveal the things to you that once you experience them, once you see them, you can never unsee them, and you can never, ever go back to the way you were before you saw them.
All right, Joel, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Joel Lambert, Manhunt, Discovery Channel. You may recognize him. He's got a nice tight beard going on tonight, as white as mine, which is a good thing. I don't feel old anymore. Space Out Radio continues after this. That was a quick half hour, dude. Quick half hour.
Rip right through.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
Good stuff. I'm just scrolling through some of the comments. You got some good stuff going on out there.
Got a lot of vets in here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot of vets. Drew Banky, he's been a former guest on the show. He deals with he's a veteran and deals with a lot of psychedelics and meditation as well. And,
great guy.
Oh, you know Drew?
Yeah, I know Drew.
Oh, yeah.
Drew's the one who, yeah.
Yeah, Drew's awesome. Love Drew.
Yeah, he's a great dude. Yeah, we're going to link up one of these days out at his little setup out there in Colorado, I guess.
Yep. 509 Divine Pines is a veteran. Max Retchie's a veteran. Who else is a veteran in here? Black Dragon, he's a former Marine.
Right on. Semper Fi.
Yeah, he's badass. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of badass here. Hey, 509, man, I'd love to go on your podcast.
That'd be awesome. I'll get him if you want. I'll send him at your email.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool. He's a good dude. I've chatted with him a few times on other podcasts. Good dude.
Right on.
Ollie, what's happening? Yeah, we got good people in here.
Yeah, it looks like you do. Love it.
Yeah, Drew's bugging me because he was. What did he ask earlier? He asked. I gotta scroll back here, Drew. Let me see. Stacy was married to a former Navy SEAL.
Yeah, I've seen in some comments. Yeah, I've heard, I think I know exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Small community. And
she says here, my hubby was pretty notorious. Dev grew sniper and did federal prison time because his girlfriend turned him in. That's not good.
Yeah.
I would call that ex-husband.
He's not the only one who's had something exactly like that happen.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm trying to find Drew's comment here because it was a shot at me here.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah. I'm scrolling on up trying to find it. I don't know if I'll be. Oh, yeah. There it is. Did they ever serve breakfast for dinner in the first phase of Buds? Because he knows I hate breakfast foods for dinner, man. Hate it.
Oh, dude.
I know.
Breakfast is good at any time. I'm a Waffle House guy myself.
Well, at least we know your flaw now. All right. Yeah, throw you some waffles in the middle of the battlefield. We got you.
Well, that's what the Navy does. Waffles with peanut butter.
Yeah.
Only way to eat them.
Max is asking, any exposure to ass heads? I don't even know what an ass head is.
I don't know what he's asking. Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
Ass heads.
I don't know. I don't know the military lingo, man.
Yeah, I've not heard that one no.
All right. Black Dragon says Semper Fi back to you.
Right on. Right on. Love my core brothers and sisters.
Ross, he's a vet, I believe, as well. Jose, how you doing, buddy? This is awesome. Getting lots of love tonight, ETs. That's what Max means. Assheads, ETs.
Oh, ETs. No, not personally. Multidimensional creatures, so to speak, but not in any physical vessels. But I'm 100% a believer.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with ET activity right now around this planet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Oh. I may have found a new Bigfoot spot yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was driving. I went out Saturday night, had my FLIR and my night vision going. Got nothing. And then yesterday I went back out during the day to see if any footprints had moved over my tire tracks or around.
Right.
Had nothing. John Blair says my son's 82nd Airborne. He's a CB.
Right on.
And
good deal.
And came across some weird trees, man. Weird trees.
Oh, yeah?
Hi, gorgeous Avi May. And all right, we've got about 30 seconds here.
Bring it on in.
Watch out for Chad Smith. He is the power of the chat room.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
He's booting people and running the show.
He is just, he's a man of his own name. That's all we can say.
All right.
All right. Big thank you to Dirt Road for the awesome super chat. Kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a great way to support what we do. Here comes the second half hour of the show right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. I tell you, I don't know if any of you caught the news, but my area now, south of me, is flooding. The highway I drove down to Vancouver the other day literally is washed out. The river came up so high, it's washed out. And 2 towns have been evacuated. They may evacuate more. My goodness. Scary times here in British Columbia so far, but that's okay. We're going to continue on because BC's strong, man. BC's strong. And tonight's guest from Discovery Channel's Manhunt, one badass former Navy SEAL in Joel Lambert. And this man is, I'm going to say, pretty well-rounded. Good dude so far, and I think we're going to continue on with a great conversation with him tonight. Joel, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I guess there's still time for me to muck all that up.
Well, we should give out your website, which is escapeandevademobile.com. And we're going to get into that a lot in hour 2. But you got me all hooked on the whole psychedelic stuff here, man. I mean, I didn't expect that. I mean, what made you decide this was something that you wanted to give your mind a try? Because, you know, for a lot of us, myself included, I'm petrified of trying it. I've had my own experiences. I have my own woo, but I'm just a little petrified. Why didn't you go down that road?
Well, like I said, you know, I was deeply into meditation. I was into these healing practices. I've always been a spiritual person. And so I was always very open to what psychedelics could provide, possibly. I didn't know. I'd had my experiences, you know, when I was younger, you know, mushrooms and acid and all that stuff, and had some great experiences as a young man dropping acid, but nothing that was transformative. And so I had heard about this. This is an interesting story. So I'd heard about this psychedelic program from some guys here and there. But whenever guys would start talking about it, they're like, I signed non-disclosures. I can't talk about it. And so I'm like, I'd always clock that and put it away and go, okay, I got to find out one day I'm going to find out about this psychedelic program that all these brothers are going to, because this is fascinating to me. And I mentioned it. I was talking psychedelics with an old friend, and I mentioned that I'd heard that there was something for naval special warfare, for SEALs specifically, in the psychedelic arena for healing and for facilitating things. And she said, "Oh, you might be talking about the Ibogaine program that my friend Lonnie runs." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" She's like, "No, my friend is heavily involved in that." I'm like, "Well, hook me up." And so she introduced me to her friend Lonnie, who then connected me with a doctor who's running this program. So this doctor, Dr. Martin Polanco, he is a pioneer in Ibogaine therapy, which iboga is a small West African shrub, and the bark of it contains ibogaine, which is a psychedelic substance that they call this the great grandfather of psychedelics. This is the big one. This is a 36-hour psychedelic experience. And he was using it's an addiction interrupter, and he's been using it at a facility in Mexico called Crossroads for decades and decades to help hardcore opioid or heroin addicts, people that just have nowhere else to go and nothing left that they can do to break this addiction. And Ibogaine will, in 5 minutes, erase the physical and mental addiction, and it's up to them to maintain what it gives you. And so I talked to that doctor. And he asked me, why do you want to do this? And I'm like, I don't remember what I said, but something about just, exploration of my consciousness. And I want to, I want to explore all the things that I can be and what might be out there. And whatever I said, he was like, that's a good reason. And so they hooked me up to this program, and I go down, and when you're ready, I'll tell the whole story from my experience, because it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So they send me, they hooked me up with a counselor at first. My retreat's about a month away. And they hooked me up with a counselor to talk through a bunch of stuff, a facilitator. So I have these weekly phone conversations with him that are really conducive to just preparing the field, so to speak. And they send me a book of work to do, just questions to ask myself and things to bring to mind as I'm preparing for the experience. And so I go through the program, and I'm doing the work, and my facilitator had told me that the medicine will begin working before you take it. And I'm like, again, okay, hippie, whatever that means. And then as I'm doing this work, all of a sudden these things start coming up for me, family things, things that I buried from myself out of shame or disgust, or things that I compartmentalized off from fear. All these things started coming out and processing out, and they felt good. It felt good to have them just come up in me. And I started thinking, okay, there's something to this now, because things are coming up that really have no reason to be coming up right now. And I go down this Friday afternoon. I drive down to San Diego, where we meet the whole crew that are going down. It's 4 SEALs and 1 Army Ranger, who's since become a great friend of mine. And we drive down to Mexico to this house, and get down there, and the facilitators are like saging and smudging it and setting everything up. And we had a lunch before we drove down there. So our last meal we're going to have that night, because that night we're having the Ibogaine treatment. And Iboga is one of the few psychedelics that can cause physical harm. You can have heart issues on Ibogaine. So there was a bunch of screening stuff. We had to do piss tests and heart tests and stuff. And there's a medical staff there for the experience. And we have a little ceremony where we wrote down what we wanted to leave behind and burned it in the flame, and said little prayers, and then they passed out our Ibogaine doses in little wooden bowls like a sacrament. We said a little prayer, took our dose, and then went upstairs where they had mattresses set up for us. And so as we go upstairs and they lay us down, they put heart monitors on and O2 monitors on your finger, and I lay down. I've got an eye shade on, and the doctors are moving around the room, and I'm just waiting for it to start. I don't know what it is going to be, but I'm waiting for it. And I've got this eye shade on, and I'm laying on this mattress, and nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, boom, it comes. and this nightmare buzzing starts above my head like a chainsaw from hell, the chainsaw of hell. And it had a shape. It had a shape like this. And I don't know why the sound had a shape, but it was very distinct. The buzzing started, and I was in the middle of this 8K fractal alien hell, machine hell. And I was seeing these fractals of these machine faces and these alien entities coming out of these fractals in more. Dude, I've never seen with my eyes anything as distinct and as crisp as I was seeing in these visions. It was otherworldly, and it was a nightmare, and it went on and on and on. And I didn't understand what any of these visions meant. It made no sense to me. And at some point I just let go and just let them come. I have no idea what they are or why they are, but just let them come. I want all of what this medicine has for me. And I'm laying back, and it's coming, and I start retching. I start dry heaving, and I'm purging, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And people are holding me. I feel hands around me, and I'm just ripping this out. I lay back down. It was awful, and it went on and on and on. And at some point I just say, let the visions come. And I just lay back and just give up and just let them come. It was horrifying. And there were these strange, soulless people walking around me. There were people, but they had no, they were the matrix beings. Exactly. There's these soulless people all around. And then sometime in the daytime, in the morning, I lift my eye shade up and I see the light. And at some point, so ibogaine happens in 2 phases. You have this visionary phase, which is the one I was in, where all the visions are happening. And then at some point that stops, 18 hours in or something. And you have what they call the contemplative or the integrative phase, where you're supposed to write and journal and stuff. No, it was like this crazy trance I went into. And I'm laying there, and I lift my eye shade up, and I look around the room, and all the other guys are on their mattresses, and like these rictuses of pain and horror. They look like nightmare beings that are frozen. And we're all having this crazy experience. And at some point I have to pee. And during the day, it's probably in the early afternoon, I managed to get up, which your body doesn't work. It's all jerky, herky. And I managed to get up and make my way downstairs to pee and get some food because I'm dying of hunger. I get a banana and I fall down to the ground. I eat this banana. And one of the facilitators is looking at me, and I must look just horrible because the look on her face as she's seeing me, it makes me think I just must be pathetic. She takes me over to the couch and lays me down. She says, I'm going to go get my tuning forks and do some energy work on you. And I'm like, again, okay, hippie, cool. And so I'm laying there, and I've got my phone in my hand, and I'm just kind of scrolling through it as one does when you're, not otherwise occupied. And I feel the weight of the phone. And I can see, I don't know, some social media BS or something. And then as I'm scrolling, I realize I don't have my phone. They've been put away for the whole weekend. They've been locked up so guys can just have this whole experience. And I just felt the weight of it in my hand just half a second ago. She comes back with her tuning forks, does energy. It makes me feel so much better. I go back upstairs, lay down. We come back down for dinner, and guys are around the dinner table. These big tatted up, badass SEALs, their fists screwed into their eyes, just making these screaming noises just out of pure misery. And we go back upstairs after dinner. Nobody ate very much at all, and lay back down. And at some point in the night, I actually do fall asleep. It's like the fever broke, the trance was over and I was out of it. And it felt so good. The next morning I get up and I'm starving. I go downstairs, get some food, and the facilitator says, you still can't have any food. We are about to do the 5-MeO DMT. And I'm like, more psychedelics? I don't want any more I just had, 30 hours of psychedelics. I think I'm good. I don't want any more. But the other guys come down, and we sit around the fire in the morning, and they start talking about this 5-MeO DMT, which is the toad venom. And we're going to go, this is a very short experience. So we're going to go in order, and I'm the number 3 of 5. And so they say, go out by the pool and wait for your turn. And so I go out by the pool with my journal because they say it's helpful to journal things, although I don't have anything to say about this experience I just had over the last day. But I'm out there and I have my pen and I sit down by the pool and I try to write.
On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. That ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Peacock is streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals, and every live WWE pay-per-view. It's The Office, Chris Lee Knows Best, and Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster. Peacock, watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
Something, and I'm just gonna write my thoughts, and I write, and it didn't make any sense. My head, my brain, my hand, none of them are integrated. All of them are kind of on their own program. And I scribble that out. And I stop and think, how do I feel? And I realize I feel clean. I feel pure. I have never, ever in my life felt this pure. And it's like all the entanglements of my entire life, minor and major, all the scar tissue from when I was 2 years old until 2 weeks ago had just been wrapped up and pulled out of me. And I'm only noticing that they were ever there because I feel where they were. They're gone now. And I felt so at peace and so calm and so blissfully, low-key bliss that I just sat there and just savored this. And I was just savoring it. And as I'm savoring it, I hear the first 5-MEO guy from the house scream like his head's being cut off. I'm like, oh, boy. But I thought, if this is all I get from this experience, this is more than I ever could have imagined. And as I'm sitting there savoring it, it becomes my turn. And so I go up to the house, and they sage me and smudge me and bring me up to the room. And there's one mattress in the room, and the doctor and all the facilitators are around the mattress, and they're all dressed in white. The mattress is all white. The sun from the ocean is coming in through the doors, through the windows, the balcony onto this mattress. And there's, all the crystals and gongs and things around. And I sit down, and the doctor shows me this vaporizer, a little small blue pipe. And no, he's actually a very, very well-known doctor who's done pioneering work in psychedelics and has helped a lot of people. But he shows me this vaporizer with a medical caduceus on it and 3 doses of toad venom. And they're just minuscule grains of this yellow substance in these vials. And he shows me the handshake dose. He's like, you're going to inhale this just to familiarize yourself with the taste and how the process goes. And so he lights the vial, and I begin to inhale, and he tells me when to stop inhaling and says, count down from 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And he says, exhale. And I exhale. It tastes very strange. It felt very strange, but it was not anything to speak of. So we go on to the first real dose, and he vaporizes it, and I breathe in and hold it, and he counts down from 10, and he says, exhale, and I exhale and throw my arms out like I'm instructed and just fall back onto the mattress. As I fall back, my world just explodes. Dave, it's just kaleidoscopes of color. And these colors, it was red, blue, orange, green, yellow. Those primary colors, like red, blue, green, and yellow. But red like I'd never even conceived of a red could be before. And the same with the blue, and the same with the yellow. These colors were indescribable. And I'm just hearing this and I'm laying there, and it's just bliss. And it's just nothing but love and bliss. And as I'm laying there, just savoring this, I remember what they said downstairs before we came up. And they said, it's like this beautiful deep dive in the ocean. Everything's beautiful. You're down 100 feet, and it's perfect. And then you look over, and over to your right is this deep, dark abyss. And they said, if you have it in you, go down there, because that is where the jewels are, the real jewels. And I remember that as I'm laying there, just experiencing this bliss. And I thought, well, I can have these thoughts, so there still must be more to go. So I signal for another dose. They pull me up. I mean, I'm barely there, barely feel that I have a body. and I feel the vaporizer against my lips, and he vaporizes it, and I breathe in, and he counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I exhale and I die. I feel my body atomize and it's gone. And this rising panic in me, I'm like, oh boy, you did it this time. You did it. And then I get up to just about where I'm about to have a major panic attack. And I realize it's okay. It's okay. You may be dead, but it's okay. Everything is just perfect. And I was in this place, no body whatsoever. There's no space. There's no time. And it was just pure consciousness, this black consciousness. It was infinite potential. And I remembered everything that I tell you about this experience in this place was a remembering. It was nothing that I learned. It was all, oh yeah. I forgot that when I put this on, this meat suit on. And I thought, this huge ocean of consciousness, I remembered I am a part of that. I am how can a wave think it's separate from the ocean? How can a wave be separate from the ocean? How can a ripple not be part of the water? It's all one thing. And I was just in this existence of consciousness and power and remembering what I am. And that's what happened. I remembered what I am. And when that happened, it changed everything. Everything in my whole existence came down to that one phrase, I am. And I felt the scream coming from deep. And I screamed. I heard my body scream from far away. And it was like all the trauma from Afghanistan, from the SEAL teams, from relationships, from family, from everything just came out of my, from time forward and backward and present, just all came out from that. And I just laid there in this place, and they tell me it was about 45 minutes. There's no time. There's no space. There's just power and infinite potential and consciousness. It's all there is consciousness. And I laid there, and as I was laying there just savoring this, I had this thought, like, I wonder if my body is breathing. And I took this giant breath, and I was sucked right back into my body, and my eyes popped open, and the light coming through the windows was conscious. It was alive, and there was substance and texture to it. And I began sobbing with the sorrow of what we have lost. And then I would begin laughing like a loon with the joy of what we are. And I was just sobbing with the sorrow of loss and laughing hysterically with the joy of I am. And for another half hour, I just laid there sobbing and laughing and sobbing and laughing and sobbing and laughing, and just coming down from this. And later on, doing some reading and some researching, I believe that was the classic Buddhic void, which some scholars have written about and talked about. It was amazing. And I mean, we can talk about this all night long, but I will never be the same. You experience an understanding like that, and you can never, ever, ever be the same, ever.
For you, what did you see? As we got about 2.5 minutes here, what did you see? What grabbed you on the other side?
Well, I didn't see, and I see some people talking about DMT and stuff, and the 5-MeO DMT I think is different. I haven't done DMT, but is different because people talk about the experiencing the entities and stuff on the other side in DMT. There was only one entity that I experienced, and it's the entity that we're all a part of. It was the universal consciousness. It was source. It was the power. It was the Akashic field. It was the ether. It was the 0 point field. It was pure consciousness. And I didn't see it. It was all black. It was a blackness. It was an infinite space, infinite potential.
That scares the hell out of me.
Yes, and because, and it reminds me of something I hear people say not all the time, but I hear some spiritual teachers talk about the reason more people aren't enlightened is because enlightenment is a lot like dying, because you can never be enlightened because being enlightened precludes there being a you. So, it's terrifying. And if I were to, have DMT right here and be knowing I was going to smoke and going to break through again like that, I would be petrified. Also, completely thrilled, but scared spitless. It was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced.
I don't know if I would have the cojones to do that, my friend. I really don't. Not, and I'm not trying to play down your experience or anything, but
No.
I mean, we got about 45 seconds. I mean, to me, and I think everybody listening, this goes right against the character that we think that you are. But I mean, this really helped you alleviate a lot of tension and PTSD in your mind.
Well, DMT is one of the only substances that will actually heal brain matter, will actually fix damaged and destroyed neurons, synapses, and all that. It's one of the very few substances that can do that. So there's that aspect of it medically, empirically, but then just the experience of, and I know there's probably people in this chat room, and Drew, and people that have experienced similar things. It is transcendent. It's ineffable is really what it comes down to. It can't be put into words. It has to be experienced, and experiencing God, of consciousness, of source, of whatever, every name you can call it is going to carry some baggage with it. But what is the I am, experiencing that can never ever be the same. If you are the same, you haven't experienced it.
All right. On that note, Joel Lambert from Discovery Channel's Manhunt. What's it like to survive? How do you survive? Let's turn it up next. Survival 101 with former Navy SEAL Joel Lambert here on Spaced Out Radio. When we turn the second hour into the ever. Go. All right, we're clear. This is going to be good.
Oh yeah, here's people starting to talk about MK Ultra and stuff. Man, we're getting into the interesting stuff right now.
Oh yeah, we got the woo now, man. You turned up the woo machine big time there.
Yeah.
Who's got the MK Ultra?
We got somebody talking about them. Samantha Hazelwood Gray is talking about the CIA dosing people. That was MK Ultra.
I got a good friend of mine who's been taking on these MyLabs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, the story she tells.
Really?
Yeah, far out woo, man. Far out woo. And you know what? I believe everything she says, man. I believe everything she says. This young lady, my audience knows who I'm talking about, a lady named Samantha Mowat. I met her on April 15th, 2014, 5 days after I got called at my friend's house, and 5 days previous to that, I got called outside their house in the middle of the night, like 10 o'clock at night, to see a UFO on the ground.
Wow.
So Samantha's really in tune with this shit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on April 15th, 2014. And she goes, dude, I'm going to paraphrase the story here because of time. Mm-hmm. She goes, let's walk back in the forest. She goes, we're going to see something, right? Yeah. We walk 100. We walk 100 yards into this forest, man, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She stops me. She jumps up on this stump because she's only like 5'2". She jumps up on this stump and she takes a look around and she gets this little perplexed look on her face. And she goes, Dave, I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to look that way and tell me what you see. And I took a deep breath. I turn, I look. I'm like, Samantha, what the fuck is that? Because, dude, no word of a lie. God is my witness on my children's lives or whatever. 200 feet away from me, man, there's a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial standing there.
Damn.
Yeah, man. No DMT, no hallucinogens, nothing, man. I froze.
Yeah, dude. When it comes to the physical UFOs or craft, I can't help but wonder if it's skunk works or if it's actual.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever want to learn? I got the people you could learn from.
Oh, absolutely. I've read a bunch on it, and but I by no means have. It's still. It's like it's crazy. It's hard to decipher.
It's good woo.
And yeah, it's good stuff though. I mean, we're finding out. We're in the beginning stages of the ascension.
The thing I don't like about it, and my biggest warning for my audience, is this: remember that the minute the government is involved, there's a narrative.
Yep,
and
exactly.
there is so much to this outside of the narrative, from what the media is not covering, what they're not telling you. There's a reason why they only went to the 2004 Nimitz incident and didn't go anywhere past that. Okay, it's just there's a lot of shit going on, man.
Oh, absolutely. It comes down to the cabal, man. What they want you to know. But I think that power is breaking, so we'll see though.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Join the Galactic Federation of Light.
You got that right.
Being what we're meant to be.
Dude, you are so not who I thought you were tonight. I love it. I love it.
I'm that too, man. I'm one of my SEAL brothers has a little clothing company, and his little logo is Violent Hippie, and I'm like, I get that, dude. I get it.
I got called. Okay, here's a quick funny story. We only got about 90 seconds. I came up with the slogan for the show, "We Own the Night." Okay, because when I was 18 years old, where I grew up in Abbotsford, British Columbia, we had a big air show, and in '91 they flew in an F-117, and the fighter pilot, I got to talk to him for like 15 minutes, man. And he had this Desert Storm patch on with a Skunk Works skunk on there, and it said "We Own the Night." And I always remembered that. So when putting the show together, I didn't realize that the NRO's slogan is "We Own the Night." So I actually got a call from a buddy of mine. I'm not going to say who, very well connected, who asked me if I was actually NRO, and I'm like, "What the hell is the NRO?" Oh, yeah. It scared the daylights out of me, man. I got some weird emails right after that, and it was trippy, dude. Trippy. Gorgeous Magic Maiden, how you doing? Davey Crotch Kick, how are you, buddy? All right, we got about 45 seconds. Yeah, dude, it was crazy times. Crazy times. It still scares the shit out of me.
An amazing time to be alive, man. And we... having chosen to be here at this point in time, this is some seriously badass. Everyone who's here, light working and raising the vibration, man.
Yeah,
much respect. This is you signed up for this, man.
I don't know why, but here we go. Chris Martin, good to see you. Big thank you to Spooky and Dirt Road for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Here comes hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hapazanthus. I think I got that right. Hapaxanthus is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as a clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and brand new on TikTok. We actually got our first 2 videos up at Spaced Out Radio. Tell you, we're going down a cool road tonight. Former Navy SEAL of a decade, Joel Lambert is with us. You may recognize him from Discovery Channel's Manhunt. We're going to learn about survival, manhunt, and the man behind the legend himself. Joel, welcome back, brother.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Having a good time.
Dude, this
You
is
got some awesome people in the chat.
Yeah, man, this is insane so far. Insanely good show. And anybody just joining us, this is one where you're definitely going to go want to catch the first hour. Incredible. I didn't know it was going there. Did not know. And this is what I love about this show being so unscripted, man. You know, it just takes a natural turn, and this is where it went. But before we get to some audience questions, because I usually allow audience questions an hour or two, I want to ask you, how did you get picked up for Discovery's Manhunt?
Oh, that's a funny story. A good story. So I'm back to BUDS. I'm a BUDS instructor. I'm getting out of the Navy. I'm processing out. I had, according to like my bio that you read at the top of the show, I had done a lot of print and commercial work and things like that and acting growing up and before I joined the Navy. And so as I was in San Diego as a BUDS instructor, I started having these opportunities in Los Angeles, working with producers and writers and directors and being on camera and helping develop scripts and stuff. And so I just kind of rode the horse the direction it was going and started working back into film and television, which I never thought I'd be in again. So I started acting and started doing guest stars and co-stars on some TV shows and such, and consulting on some stuff. And then a friend of mine calls me up and says, "Hey, I have a friend who's putting together a TV show," and sure he is, on, and he's looking for former special operations guys who have a strong background in escape and evasion and in tracking, which was me. And I said, "Okay, well, I'll send my stuff to your buddy." And I did. And he called me right up, and we have some phone conversations. And no, you're awesome, Space Cadet. And we had some phone conversations, and he tells me about his thing, and I talked to him about hypothetical situations or whatever, and after a couple of weeks, he calls me up and he says, "Hey man, I want."
On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. There ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
The General Insurance presents Ordering a Sandwich with Shaq and Hall of Fame announcer Michael Buffer.
I'm going to have roast beef. What do you want, Michael?
Let's get ready for pastrami on rye.
Turns out Michael Buffer talks like that all the time. And it turns out The General is a quality insurance company that's been saving people money for nearly 60 years.
Spicy Dijon mustard.
For a great low rate and nearly 60 years of quality coverage, make the right call and go with The General.
The General Auto Insurance Services, Inc. Insurance Agency, Nashville, Tennessee. Some restrictions apply.
Go out to the Palm Desert and shoot some stuff on you for sizzle for my show. And he said, "I'd love you to come out this weekend." And I'm like, I spent so much time already on this guy's project. And look, in LA, everybody and their brother has a script, has a film, has something. They're the next big thing, and they're about to break with their TV show that they're in negotiations with. So you can't take anybody saying that they got a show or anything very seriously at all until there's some evidence of it. So I told the guy, I really can. I've spent a lot of time on this, and I got things to do this weekend. The guy said, "Well, I'll pay you." And I thought, okay, I can get out of LA for the weekend. I can go run around the desert and say some stuff, and this guy can shoot his little sizzle for his little show that's not going to go anywhere, and put me up in a hotel, and I can go climbing in Joshua Tree on Sunday, and then I can come home and have a great weekend and get out of LA. And so I did it and went out to the desert. And as I'm pulling up to the hotel this guy's putting me up at, it's like this beautiful giant Palm Springs resort. And I'm thinking, wow, this guy's got a budget. And I check into my room, and the phone rings when I check in, and I pick it up. Hello? And this woman says, "Hi, Mr. Lambert. This is so-and-so, and I'm the production coordinator for the weekend. And I know you're not scheduled to work until tomorrow, but Sarah Davies, the vice president of Discovery International, just flew in from London, and she's wondering if you'll have dinner with her tonight." And I thought, at that point, the light bulb went off over my head, and I thought, okay, this is actually real. This is actually something. So I go out to dinner with Sarah, who's become a friend. She's a lovely woman, hilarious. Tells some raunchy stories I probably shouldn't have about my time in the SEAL teams and stuff, but they pay off. She thinks they're hilarious. The next day I go run around the desert and make some booby traps and, do some tracking and, do some tactical stuff. And the next day I find out that they've got a Victoria Cross winner, a UK SAS guy in there they're looking at as well. And another Marine, prettiest man I've ever seen. But I end up getting the show. And so we shoot a pilot in Arizona. It goes excellent and rates really well. And so then we do the series, and we do 2 seasons, and got both the posters up there, traveling around the world, inserting in foreign countries, being tracked down 3 or 4 days, using whatever they have, dogs, drones, tracking forces, escaping. And it was an amazing program. And then after doing 1 season of Manhunt, they gave me another show called Predators Up Close, which was Animal Planet wildlife show on the world's biggest, baddest predators. And then I did a bunch of one-offs and did some stuff on Fukushima when that happened, and narrated some things. And it just really was a fantastic time doing the kind of things, when I act, it's fun and it's creative and it's an outlet, but it doesn't feed me. Doing Manhunt was all the things, all the on-camera skills, my wits, my physical abilities, all the things I learned in the teams and out of the teams, all of my skill sets. It was everything that I was, all being tested under duress at a very high level. And those are beautiful moments where your humanity, where you can really peel the layers and pierce the veil and get into what really is.
Did you like TV?
That's a loaded question, I think. I liked doing Manhunt. I loved doing shows that I felt were valuable, that weren't BS, that had something valuable to give and valuable for us to do in them. I found that very, very fulfilling. I think that a lot of what comes with having your own international shows can be very distracting and can knock you off your kilter a little bit. And I think I'm a pretty calm and fairly unflappable dude, but you still very divinely guided, but you still those pressures and those experiences can be disconcerting at best. And so I think while I love the medium and I love some of the things that can be done, I'm not in love with TV or film anymore. And some of the things that just go on in that industry, for sure, I just don't want to be a part of.
For you, being a survivalist and everything like that, the way the world has kind of gone into all hell in a handbasket here the last couple of years, did you ever catch yourself, thinking, well, I think I got to learn how to eat deer meat, rabbit, fungus or anything like that, going on here? Or did your services outside of television all of a sudden, bring people to you saying, we don't know what's going to happen here, with everything that's going on. Let's, maybe it's time to learn some survival tactics.
Yes. A lot of people ask me lots of things like that, especially as things were the last several years in the globe. A lot of people reach out, old friends, high school friends, grade school friends, wanting to know what I would put in a go bag, what kind of things are important to have set up at their house. And so I've talked to and counseled with a lot of people on my opinion for what is important right now and how someone without a lot of training can best take advantage of some of the tools and things out there and spend some money to prepare for likely scenarios. And I think it can go one of two ways. I think it can go very, very dark for a while, or it can go to a very light, fifth density Earth. And in either of those scenarios, I think that being connected with Earth and raising your own food, whether it's animal or whether it's vegetable, and raising your own medicine, all these things, I think all of just this connectedness to the Earth and to being, I saw Drew said earlier, we are nature. Exactly. We are nature. We're not a part of nature. We aren't observers of nature. We are a product of nature. We are nature itself. And so getting back into that is good for the soul. It's good for the planet. It's good for our collective vibration. It's good for a lot of things. And if it gets very, very dark, having a vegetable garden and having a few chickens out back could be the difference between life and death.
Joe wants to know what's in your bug out bag.
Well, I have, I don't really have a bug out bag. I have, escape and evasion kit is what I use. And really it depends on what I tell people on an escape and evasion kit or a bug out bag or a go bag. What you need to do is I always go by the rule of threes. And that says that you can survive 3 hours without shelter. You can survive 3 days without water, and you can survive 3 weeks without food. So that should inform all your decisions when you're in a survival situation. What am I going to spend my time on? Am I going to go look for food when a blizzard is coming in and I have no shelter and I have light clothing on? No, that's foolishness. You can survive 3 weeks without food. You need to take care of the shelter first, and then water, and then sustenance is down the line. And so there are certain things that you need to be able to do. You need to be able to find and acquire food. You need to be able to shelter yourself. You need to be able to find, carry, and purify water. You need to be able to navigate, and you need to be able to signal. And so certain things will cover a multiple amount of bases. So like a fire starting kit, a good fire starting kit, fire is shelter. Because when I say shelter, I mean things that protect your corporal body. Well, things that protect your physical body. That can be a house, it can be a tent, it can be your clothing, it can be a fire. A fire is warmth. It will keep the animals away. You can cook your food over it. You can purify your water. You can signal with it. A fire is one of the most useful skills. So I can start a fire with, just primitive, with, a bow drill, but with primitive skills. But I always have at least 2 ways to achieve a certain desired outcome, either tools or knowledge base. So I would have at least 2 ways to start a fire. I would have 2 ways to purify water. I would have 2 ways to snag, trap, or find food. I would have 2 ways to navigate. I would have multiple ways to do all the things that I need to do. A weapon is great. A fixed blade knife is if I could take one thing into the wilderness, it would be a good, sturdy, sharp, fixed blade knife. With that, I can make my other tools.
I never thought about it until I moved up here. Way in the north of British Columbia, where I am. I live about darn near central part of the province.
Mm-hmm.
But like growing up near Vancouver, there was no need to get a gun license. There was no need to get a hunting license. I mean, sure, I went fishing all the time. I mean, that's easy. There was no need to learn it because everything was always at your hand. If you went hunting, you didn't go out in the bush. You went to the supermarket. And all the work was done for you there.
Right.
But now that I've moved up here to where I am, and I've been up here for 6.5 years, I look at it and I look at things differently. Like, what would happen? Like in British Columbia right now, where none of us where I am, every route to Vancouver right now where I am is blocked by either mudslides or by washouts of the highway.
Yeah.
What would I do to survive? Now, obviously, my area is going to get food. They'll trek it in from either Washington State, or they'll trek it in from Alberta or wherever. Like, there's always going to be food for that, But if it ever came down to it, what would I do? Now, thankfully, I have a couple of survivalist type friends, but for myself, I always thought, gee whiz, like, how would I do this? Like, I'm not a camper. I don't like tents. I don't like, the cold I don't mind, but there's a lot that I don't like. Right. I hate being wet.
Me too.
I mean, I mean, and growing up in Vancouver, the wet that you get down there, because you got that humidity, the wet just every raindrop just sinks right into your skin. Not like
I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Yes,
then
it's
you know what I'm
different up
talking
there.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a natural rainforest. So
Yeah.
so for those of us who are, let's just say, the zombie apocalypse came, just for giggles here. All right. How many people would really, in North America right now, truly be able to survive anything apocalyptic?
Well, are we talking fast-moving zombies or slow zombies? Because I think the outcomes would be a little different.
Okay, skip the zombies, whatever. Let's just say an asteroid hit or aliens showed up or whatever it may be.
Okay.
Are people
Sorry, I
really
don't qualify your hypothetical situation?
Are people really prepared?
No, people are not prepared, and I think it's going to go. I think people are going to find. People are very resilient, and I think people are going to find reserves in themselves of repositories of knowledge and ability and just grit that we didn't know they didn't know they existed. But I think the first months or years of it is going to be quite the purge. There's going to be it's going to wipe out a lot of people who make bad choices or who aren't able to keep it together to get over the hump. But once the hump is over, I think that there's going to be a lot of people who find that old knowledge, who band together, who support each other, and who are able to make that gap to where they can really start growing their own food and start finding reliable sources of sustenance and of medicine, all the things we need to keep our bodies moving.
Nature is very forgiving if you know what you're looking for.
Yes, and it's also very unforgiving.
True.
At the same time. I mean, I remember I was doing this wildlife show, and I had this female co-host, and there was this springbok, which is a very small impala in Africa, and it was bounding through the grass right where we're at, and right by a female lion who had just eaten. This lioness was completely satiated. She's completely full, and the springbok came by, and this lioness just boom pounced and just took her down and had her claws in the back, the spine of this springbok. The springbok was mewling, and the lion wasn't hungry at all. Why did the lion kill the springbok? Because it's a lion, and it's a springbok, and that's just the way of nature. And it crushed this poor antelope's spine and didn't eat it or anything. It's just the way it is. I think that there's just my female co-host started getting emotional and crying, and nature is not cruel. It is not kind. It just is. It just is. This is what it is. And that's, we need to flow in that direction. And that's the only way we can make any kind of steering is if we flow the direction that the river is going,
How important is it to learn the sounds of nature?
The sounds?
Yes.
Well, it's especially in my line of work doing the escape and invasion, it's very important because the sounds can tell you lots of things. The sounds of nature can either be an alarm, like squirrels and other birds will alarm and let things in their area know that you're invading, or things will go silent. And that's something else to tell you that there are something in your area that is hunting, that these other small woodland creatures don't want to draw attention to themselves. So the sounds of nature will tell you everything you need to know, really.
And the reason why I ask is I was out in the forest yesterday, and I was out looking for Sasquatch and looking for anything that I could find that just looks a little bit different. You really have to learn your surroundings. Like, dude, before I moved up here, I never knew what grizzly bear poop looked like. I never knew what moose droppings look like. I mean, moose droppings, for anybody who doesn't know, they literally look like giant chocolate covered almonds. Right. But I mean, these are the signs that you have to look for. I never knew what the difference between a fresh footprint and one that was a day old but still looked quite damp. I never knew any of that. And I would say that 90% of the population in North America has no clue on what's even around them, let alone how to tell. It's not just about leaves in a Boy Scout book on what you can wipe your butt with.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. We have, by and large, lost our connection to the earth and the animal kingdom, just by virtue of multiple screens separating us from the actuality, or just all the manufactured things, all the layers that we've built between us and the ground, which are good things. I'm a fan of my house, but I'm also a fan of taking off my socks and shoes and walking in the grass and growing my own food and raising my own chickens and doing the things that just connecting to this universal fabric that we are all aspects of.
Very true. Very true. But, I know before I moved up here, man, I never knew what bear tasted like. I didn't know what deer tastes like, or moose or elk. Up in my fridge right now, I got fresh pepperoni sticks of elk meat.
Oh, fantastic.
I'd never tried any of that. And most people will be like, ew, gross. And I'm like, oh, this ain't bad. Like, I'm not a fan of deer. Way too dry. Way too dry.
You don't like deer?
But I know I could eat it.
Oh, yeah. It's excellent.
That's...
I'm a fan of deer. I'm a venison guy.
Come on. I saw a big trophy buck yesterday, man.
Yeah?
Oh, big trophy buck. Except right now it's rutting season, so they don't allow... The bucks have a 2-week window to hump as much as they can, and then it's back on for the hunters.
Yeah, I think we're in muzzleloader and bow right now here in my area, but they'll open it back up rifle here pretty soon.
You got that right. For you though, I mean, that you could survive. That your fellow people could survive. Besides water and shelter and the basics, what do most people forget? Is it clothing, how to dress? Is it, how, because we're worried about vitamins, we're worried about everything else. What do we mainly forget? We got about 40 seconds.
That's a hard one. I think the situation dictates. In every different situation and every different background, you're going to find things that people will overlook. I think the rule of three is prioritizing your time and knowing what you need to do, I think is the most important thing. I think people I'll do one. Mindset. Mindset is everything. Mindset will, 14-year-old girl can crash in the Amazon and she'll walk 1,000 miles out and have an amazing story to tell. Or someone will, have a fairly minor loss in the woods, and 3 weeks later they'll walk the wrong way and they're dead. It's all mindset.
All right, we're going to continue on with the security part of everything when we come back, because survival also comes down to, can you trust people? And who do you trust? We're going to learn that from Joel Lambert, survival expert, Discovery's Manhunt. He's a good dude with us. We got him for another hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We'll continue the survival talk right after this. I'm having a great time, dude. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, this is a great discussion, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yep. Try catching a wild animal on your feet. That's a tough one.
I had one of my chickens get out the other day, and that's just trying to catch that chicken.
Chickens make you look like a fool.
Oh, yes. And they're so dumb that you feel even more foolish.
Yeah. Yep. No, I've never, ever owned a gun.
Oh, yeah?
But since I moved up here, I'm actually taking my license and my hunting course this year.
Right on.
Yeah. Not that I think the world's going to go to all shit, but, I'll be honest with you. I really like the taste of grouse.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, grouse are good.
I don't know that I've had grouse. I think my
It's
favorite
like wild
game.
chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what they are. I just don't know if I've ever had them. I think my favorite meat I've ever had, exotic or gamey meat, is ostrich. And I had some ostrich fillets, steaks in South Africa that blew my mind. Best meat I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, they're incredible. They're beautiful red meat. It was like the most perfect piece of steak. There's no fat. If there is, there's no marbling. It's just this perfect red meat, but it's juicy and delicious and not dry, not gamey. It was like the world's most perfect steak. Crazy.
I think what a lot of people don't understand, and I learned this from.
On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. That's real. There ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
At Capella University, you're in control of your education. With the game-changing FlexPath format, you can set your own deadlines and move at your own pace. The faster you move, the more you save. Visit capella.edu to learn more.
Going into the forest is how small you really are and feeble.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Like we were out yesterday and got out of the vehicle because everybody had to pee.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we hear? We hear way in behind us a tree knock. And immediately it's like, okay, get back in the vehicle because we're not the biggest ones around. But I've been cutting firewood, man. And in a section, and all of a sudden you'll hear something big. You never see it, but you hear something big walking around you.
Oh yeah.
And whether it's moose or bears or cats, you'll never hear.
No.
But and then you look up at a tree, man, and you see like 8, 9, 10, 11 feet up, big scratch marks, from these giant claws, I got a photo yesterday here. I don't know if it'll show properly. Hold on. Is that the one? I took a couple. No, that's the second one. There it is. Like this photo here was about 11 feet up. Okay, and you can look. Let it focus in. But you see the big claw mark right in the middle there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Like that shit'll take your head off.
Oh, dude, yes. I did a show with polar bears, and I wouldn't want to get near a grizzly or a polar bear, but I was near the polar bears. But yeah, they'd come up to the icebreaker we were on, and had the markings, the markings on the side, and they're reaching up. They're like 10 feet, 11 feet, 12 feet.
I know.
Reaching up all the way. It's crazy how big they are.
Yeah.
And how fast they are.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Uh-huh.
And
we are tool makers, and we have invented all the things nature did not give us: talons and night sight and fur and all that. We've had to invent all these things: night vision, thermals, and FLIRs, things like that. But man, the originals are good.
Oh gosh, man! I'll tell you, it is something that when you see a big claw mark that's digging into a tree like that, you're small when it's at 11 feet high. You are tiny.
You're tiny and slow.
Exactly. Like, a few weeks ago, we were driving along, just looking for firewood, man. And, looking for some trees to cut down. And you pull we pulled literally 9 feet away, 10 feet away from a moose.
Mm.
And I'm looking at this female, and then I'd never seen a bull male before. He was in behind her, like another 50, 60 feet. I'd never seen that before, man. Hold on one second here. Thank you, Toe Tag, Fabster, Murray, Spooky, and Dirt Road for the super chats. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now officially we got videos up on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We'd appreciate it. We continue on. Survival expert Joel Lambert. He spent 10 years as a United States Navy SEAL, started on Discovery Channel's Manhunt. What's it like to survive in the wilderness if all of a sudden the alien apocalypse hits us? Yes. What are we going to do when them aliens come? Joel, welcome back, man.
Yeah, I guess it depends on if it's the Dracos and the Reptilians or if it's the Galactic Federation of Light.
Truth.
It's all situation dependent.
You have tracked people, and you've been a survivalist for pretty much your entire adult life. You know, when we are in wilderness, one thing that I wanted to say to you is this: I'm not a big time dude who goes out in the forest all the time, but I love driving the forest. Mm-hmm. And we went to our one Sasquatch gifting site that we have, man. I had been there 20, 30 times at this point. Knew the area like the back of my hand. And this one time, my friend, I looked into the forest. I knew exactly where I was, but I could not find my way out. Mm-hmm. And I have never had a panic like that in my life. I literally thought, even though there were 5 of us there, I didn't know where the road was. I got lost. And this area, we were in it. There was a dirt part in there where we had found one footprint previous back in 2016, and I knew where I was, but my mind just couldn't project which way was out. You know, and I'm wondering, have you ever had that happen to you?
Not that I can remember, but I guess there's lots of times I'm not lost, but I don't know exactly where I am. There's a difference between being lost and just in one moment getting turned around and having to consult your compass or, reset some things and get back on track, for sure. It's just, you got to not panic when you have those momentary feelings, because you're not lost. You haven't been out there for 6 hours. You haven't been wandering around, not knowing where you're going. You know where you're at. Everything's okay. It's part of what I was talking about earlier, mindset. You just got to calm down, take a look around, reset, do your due diligence, pull out your compass, look at the sun, figure out where you're going, pull out the map, just kind of reset yourself a little, kind of anchor yourself back in.
That's what I had to do. And thankfully a vehicle came up the road, and I heard it coming up the vehicle, or the vehicle coming up the logging road, and that's how I was able to all of a sudden refocus to where I needed to go.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
But a lot of people panic, and they start wandering.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's right there is kind of the thing to be avoided at all costs in all of the things that can drive you to that panic. One, your location. Where am I at? Oh, shit. Looking around and you're like, man. And then it rises up and it'll overflow all of your thinking and it'll destroy your thinking. Same thing with food or water or anything like that. You just, one of the ways I got through buds, and I revisit this all the time, is that if you think about having to do this every day for 6 or 8 or 9 months, you can't make it through. You'll break mentally, and so you break it down. You're like, I got first phase. I'm in first phase. That's all I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about the things in second phase. I'm just in first phase, and then first phase starts getting hard. So you're like, this is Tuesday. I can make it to the end of the week. I can do 4 more days. This is all right. And then the Tuesday morning gets really bad. And you're like, I can make it to lunch. I can make it to lunch. And don't worry about anything, but I can make it to lunch. Lunch, I can handle to lunch. And then you're doing a run and it gets really bad, really, really bad. And you're like, I can make it to the end of the run. And then it gets even worse and it gets too fast and you can't keep up. I can make it to that next beach marker. I can make it to that next beach marker. And then you make it to the beach marker and you reset your goal. And sometimes it's gotten down. I've been in points in time in buds where I was like, I can do 3 more steps or 3 more breaths. 3 more breaths. And if I think past that 3 more steps or 3 more breaths, I'm going to panic and I'm going to lose it and I'm going to quit. So I pull back my consciousness, my existence into just the framework that I can handle at that time. And I exist in that. And what it does is it pulls you into the present moment, this present moment. If you follow that to its logical conclusion, you are in this one existence moment that you're in. And in this one existence, this one moment, I'm fine in this moment. I'm fine. And it takes all the stress off and you relax into it. And you can take a breath and you can just exist and then you figure it out. You'll figure it out if you don't panic.
What are the biggest mistakes we make as people when we're out in the wilderness? So for instance, you hear every year somewhere on the news, a vehicle breaks down up in the forest because their GPS tracked them to the wrong highway, or and these people go missing. I recall a number of years ago there was an elderly couple on their way down south who got lost, and their GPS took them through a mountain passage, and they got snowed in and everything. What are the biggest mistakes we as people who aren't used to survival make when we get lost out in nature?
Well, in that kind of situation, leaving the vehicle is the biggest mistake people can make. Or just wandering off, or just that's why they say stay put and let people come find you. That's for kind of the lowest common denominator. If you have some skills, you should absolutely be proactive and not wait for someone to come find you. If you don't have skills or someone knows where you are, the situation will always dictate your response. So if I'm someplace where people know where I'm at, or know where I'm expected, I'm going to stay along those tracks. You can either let somebody come get you or you can navigate your way out of it. And so it depends. You need to have a realistic assessment of the situation, your skill sets, and what you can do in that situation in order to make the right call, because it's very easy to think too highly of yourself, or to make an error and then compound that error and then compound it again, like leaving the vehicle. Okay, you've got shelter and you decide to walk back to the road that you don't know where it's at, and the wind is coming up and you're getting near whiteout conditions. You should absolutely not leave the shelter that you're in. But then you leave the shelter and then you get turned around and then you compound that by just starting to wander, and pretty soon you're gone and you're frozen in a snowbank someplace and they find your body in the spring. So, all these mistakes that you can make can compound and take you into a very bad situation. So, there's not one thing that I see or one thing people should do. And whenever I do interviews for Manhunt and stuff, they would always ask, what's the one thing, or what's the top 3 things, or what's the one thing I should know, or the one thing I should do. And I would always say there's no way to know that without knowing the entire situation. And that's why doing the job I did in Manhunt was very, very difficult, because you had to have a tool set that covered so many different contingencies, and then be able to select the right tool for the right job, and having that tool in your toolkit. So most people don't have a whole bunch of tools when it comes to survival, navigation, those sorts of things, combat, whatever. And so I need to realistically understand that. And then, like we are tool makers, have the tools to make up for that deficiency. So if I don't have fire making skills, I'm going to have a couple different lighters and matches and some tinder, some petroleum jelly, some cotton balls, some commercial tinder. I'm going to have the things so that deficiency can be overcome with mechanical means. I'm just kind of babbling.
But that's good advice, because, a lot of people, if they decide, to drive in the mountains and maybe do a little bit of light 4x4ing or maybe they're city dwellers and they wanted to show their children nature, to go look at deer or maybe see a bear in the wild or something along those lines, and all of a sudden they get stuck. You know, they get stuck, or they hit a washout and they can't get around, or something's washed out behind them. I understand the idea of staying in your vehicle. That's just smarts. But what happens if the situation, you're not prepared for the situation, you don't have fire, it gets really cold at night because most Americans freeze at about 55 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're in a situation and you don't have the skills and you're in a bad situation like that, the only thing that can save you at that point is your mindset. And mindset will go, like I said earlier, that the example, that 14-year-old girl, a 9-year-old girl who walked out of the Amazon. I mean, that's a real thing that happened. You have these examples of people in these situations that are just insurmountable, and they surmount them, and they somehow, and when you talk to them afterwards, they did a couple different things. One, they had a positive mental attitude, which is, it sounds trite, but really that is the key to life and everything that you can encounter in life. They had a positive mental attitude, and they did little victories. So almost everyone who has a crazy survival story, whether it's Auschwitz, whether it's being lost in the woods, whatever, almost all of them set themselves up for little victories, small things. I was able to take a shoelace and fix my sun hat. I don't know, little victories, and then rewarding yourself or following through on that positive vibe because of little victories. Small goal and little achievements, and making those achievements. Not a big goal that you're not going to achieve, or that is the whole goal of, getting back to warmth and safety. Of course, that's a goal, but making it to that next, hill top where I can climb a tree and get a better lay of the land and see where it is that I'm dealing with and where I need to go. Or, making a small shelter for the night and being able to sleep without freezing to death. The little victories you'll find in almost every awesome survival story.
But most people don't even know how to stay warm. Yeah. Like they could be in their own vehicle. They could Natural
selection. I mean, there's only so much you can do, but with a positive mental attitude and most survival really is not sacred indigenous knowledge that, I learned from, this tribe in the area that I'm working. I mean, there is a lot of that, but most survival is really common sense. It really comes down to clear, calm thinking through the problem, not allowing panic or speed to taint your decision-making process. I mean, most of the survival stuff we can figure out. A lot of it we can figure out on our own. You need to be warm. You can freeze to death. If a blizzard is coming in, that's probably your number one priority. And so you deal with that to the best of your ability. And there are things you're not going to know if you just don't have the experience. But most of what you can do, you can survive with common sense and a positive mental attitude. And a few strokes of luck. You're not going to be in the middle of the Gobi Desert and survive and walk yourself out with just a little bit of common sense. You need a little bit more skill than that. But for most of the survival situations that people will reasonably expect to find themselves in, a positive mental attitude and good, clear, critical thinking and common sense will get you very far.
And the most part, you're usually going to have a shelter one way or another. If you're in your vehicle or a plane crashes or a boat, you go Gilligan's Island on something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And shelter, if you know shelter is your most important thing, that's the number one thing you need to address. And when I say the rule of things, that doesn't mean that, if you're in a tropical island and everything is warm and nice, that you need to build yourself a hut before you find clean drinking water. No, it means that you have to prioritize. So that's the number one thing. Is my shelter okay? Is my physical body going to be okay? Okay, it is. So now I move on to priority number 2. And when a blizzard starts rolling in, then I go back to priority number 1. But I go to priority 2, and I start finding a clean source of drinking water. And once I have shelter and water, then I can move on to food. And once I have those things, food, you can go a long ways with the food. Maybe I want to get out of here. So maybe navigating my way out or signaling for rescue is a higher priority. But that shelter, water, food is the order of importance for my physical body. And then, navigation or signaling is what I need to do to escape the situation.
And a lot of times it's just as simple as, like when I go out the force at night or even during the day, I always text my buddy. This is where this is the road I'm going on. If you have nobody to text, just let the police know.
Yep. Yeah, it's all you need to do. Yeah, you can anybody, just as long as somebody who is people can figure out is connected to you, that if you go missing, that they would reasonably call your mom, your sister, the police, anybody that knows, well, he was supposed to be in this area and he's planning on coming back at 2 p.m. And so then that gives them something to start, someplace to start. And when you're tracking people, when you're doing rescue efforts like that, that is, that's intelligence is the best thing. If you have any insight into the person, where they were going, where they expected to be, then you can start drawing kind of lines of probability. Well, this is probably where he may be. And then you can start extrapolating from that. You can set yourself up for success and safety that way, for sure.
Well, that kind of leads to my next topic with you in regards to, let's flip the scene here, and now let's track someone who's, say, on the lam or people who are lost out there. I guess it depends on the situation, of what you're looking for. But I mean, you've had to track down people, whether it's in a military style of tracking, or whether it's, for a television show. What's that like, hunting a person?
Well, mostly in my show, I was being tracked. That was kind of the focus of it. They're hunting me down, which is awesome. So that's where most of my skill sets are, is in the escape and evasion realm. I am a survivalist, and I do have tracking skills, but I use those skills mostly to confound the people tracking me. But the man tracking is awesome, because it combines all the tracking, physical tracking skills. Like if you're tracking an animal, a wounded animal, or just any animal, you're tracking that. But now you're also, it's the most dangerous game, man. You're pitting your wits against another human being. And if they know that you're tracking them, then it becomes this awesome game. And when I was doing manhunt, these people that were so phenomenal were tracking me, and I was trying to beat them with everything that I had. I found it the most pure, most beautiful combat. To contend like that against somebody else who is using all of their skills to confound your attempts, and vice versa. And you putting everything on the line. So many people got hurt during my show, and I'm kind of proud.
On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. That ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
Out of that, not that they got hurt, but because it was so real and it was so legit, and so many people poured their hearts out and put everything they had and risked everything into these experiences, that I find infinite beauty in that.
What were some of your tricks in evading people?
Well, it would depend on the situation. Again, it would depend on how they were hunting me. So one time they were hunting me with some incredible bloodhounds, and that was one of the hardest ones I've ever done. I didn't think I was going to get away from that. I was like, okay, chalk this one up to a loss. You can't beat bloodhounds. But what you can do when you are water, shelter, fire, food, no, that's wrong. when you're being tracked, and especially if they have a mechanical advantage or an animal advantage, if they have a dog that's tracking you, or if they are using a drone, or if they're using thermal, FLIR, night vision, anything like that, it's a mistake to try to beat the technology or beat the animal, because in most cases you can't beat the tech and you can't beat the animal. But what you can do is you can create doubt in the user's or the operator's mind. And so what you have to do is you have to drive a wedge between the operator, the person, and the technology, or their dog or their horse or whatever it is that they're using to get an advantage over you. And so you drive a wedge between them, and you make the person stop believing the dog. Make the person believe that the dog is off the scent, or make the person believe that the dog, because the dog is following your scent, is behaving so erratically that the dog has to be off. And they stop believing the dog. And then the human starts putting his thoughts in place of the tool that he's using to improve his thoughts. And then you can beat him. You can always beat the person. You can't always beat the tool.
How'd you beat the dogs?
It was, I had a couple different strategies with the dogs. The first thing I did is I was wearing all my Gore-Tex and all my because dogs, bloodhounds, the smallest flake of skin and the scent and the hair that will come off your body and the sweat and your respiration emits these particles that these dogs can follow, like neon signs. And so first thing I did was I buttoned everything up. I zipped everything up. And when I was running and when I was moving away, I was very careful not to sweat and not to breathe, not to get my respiration too intense, so that I minimized my trail is the first thing I did. Minimize my trail. And then I pulled a couple different tricks to make the handlers believe that the dogs were off the trail. And the dogs that I was going against, it was really hard because they ran them off leash. So the dogs would have a cowbell on them and they'd release them, and the dogs would run after you with this cowbell banging as they bayed, which is terrifying as these dogs are after you. And then the guys would run behind the dogs and just follow the sound of the dog. So they were very, very difficult to beat. But I ended up running them down, and I did a couple different tricks in some water to do. And so dogs will be able to track through water, or not through water, but on the banks. So you have to be very creative. You can't just cross water and think that that's going to throw them off, because what happens is the dog handlers are smart. So they see where the dog lost the scent, and then they just go up and down the bank until they pick things back up. You can't just levitate and fly someplace. If you can't do that, you're going to leave a trail. And so they're going to find it. They have techniques to cast around and find the trail. So what I ended up doing, I think, is I got in a stream, and it was freezing cold, and I ended up swimming like 400 meters down this stream. It's like a slough down the stream until I saw water moccasins. Then I got out when the water moccasins were all moving around. Got out. I pulled a couple different moves around this lake. I ended up getting into a boat that was on this lake and paddling across and pulling the boat up, leaving it, and then walking back around. So I left trail for the dogs to follow, and then getting back in the boat and pulling off to the side of the lake. And then there was a bunch of saplings, and I did tangled yarn. So you basically just go around trees and just create this snarl of scent. And so the dog will try to untangle the snarl of scent unless the handler is really smart and goes around outside of the area and tries to pick up the scent coming out of the area you snarled. But the handler has to figure that out and be able to see what you're doing in order to unravel it. And because they're running their dogs off leash, I figured that I could get the dogs kind of lost and confused. And when the handlers came up to the dogs, they wouldn't know what the dog had done. They hadn't been observing the dog's behavior for the last 15 to 20 minutes. So they wouldn't have anything to extrapolate and figure out, what I had done. They just had a dog that was upset and confused. And so it worked. And I got a lot of time, and I managed to get away.
No predator mud?
No, I didn't use a predator mud. Not in this one.
Right on. Joel, we got you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, and this has been a great show so far. I think when we come back, I want to get back into your experiences that you've had in learning about everything from psychedelics to aliens and the military. I know you got a good interest in all of that kind of woo that's going on, my friend. So we are going to deal with that. Joel Lambert, Discovery's Manhunt. He is with us on Spaced Out Radio. We got him till the bottom of the hour. Then the fedora-wearing John Hudson will join us for the UAP report. We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear. I got to take a quick bathroom break. I'll leave the microphone on because the audience there will probably want to chat with you.
Sounds good. I'm going to take a quick one, too. I'll be jump right back. Viktor Frankl. Well said, Marie. Amazing man. I did get away from 100 Force with Dogs, Stephen. That's what I'm saying. I've beaten dogs, and they were some of the best handlers. Witchy, the scariest survival story for me was when I got tangled in my parachute in the ocean at night one time, and the parachute started sinking and pulling me down.
What was that about your parachute?
I got Witchy had asked me what my scariest survival story is, and the one was when I was in the SEAL teams when we were doing a night drop into the ocean. So we were skydiving into the ocean, and my parachute, it was choppy and windy, and my parachute started sinking, got tangled in the shroud lines, and started pulling me down.
Oh my God! You ever come across great whites?
Just in TV show. Oh. I did a show with them, which was awesome.
Yeah, no, not me, man.
Oh yeah, it was great because I was in this little cage, and it's a custom cage, so it had these big openings. It was called the pod because it was kind of a central thing to the show. I'd be in the pod, and the animals would attack it. So I was in there with a full face mask diving, and this great whites would come up, boom, and bash into this thing. And then as they kind of like, because they can't really swim backwards, they kind of like bounce off and they kind of turn sideways, and then they'd swim off. I could reach out my whole arm and grab like a hold of the pectoral fin or pet the shark. And I'm on radio, and I hear the director, who's British, shout out, he's like, "Joel, are you reaching out at the cage?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I am. I'm grabbing sharks. When am I going to get a chance to grab great white sharks?" And he's like, "Could you please not do that? The insurance is, I don't think we're quite covered insurance wise." I'm like, dude, I'm going to, if I have a chance to grab great white sharks, I'm going to keep on grabbing them.
Not me, man. Nope.
Yeah.
Not me. We got about 30 seconds here. That's just freaky. Freaky.
Yeah. And somebody else, we got people talking about Viktor Frankl. Some good stuff coming out.
All right. Big thank you to Todd, Toe Tag, Fapster, Murray, Spooky, and Dirt Road for the amazing super chats tonight. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget you can do some shopping on our website, pick up some really cool swag as well to support the show. Here we go with the third hour, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone listening in to our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Just go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hapazanthus. Hapazanthus is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire, and checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Joel Lambert. He spent 10 years as a U.S. Navy SEAL. He's a survival expert, a man-tracking expert, and this man, what an interview this is. It's been absolutely phenomenal so far. His website, if you want to check it on out, escapeandevademobile.com. Joel, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Escape and Evade Mobile. That's my new project that I'm doing. We're launching right now. I want to talk about that a little bit when we get a chance.
Well, let's do that right now, man.
Okay. All right. So I was doing Manhunt, these shows, global shows around the world, escape and evasion, and people would always interview or ask me, or fans would, when am I going to take fans out on a E&E, or am I going to do a course? Am I going to do an online course? Am I going to do a school where people can come and learn the stuff I was doing? So I was doing booby traps, deception trails, anti-tracking, counter-tracking, indigenous, primitive skill type stuff. And people were always interested. And I'm like, no way, my cameraman gets me caught. I'm not going to take any, I'm not taking Kim Kardashian out on a hunt. But it got me thinking. And after I got in a motorcycle accident, that's why I'm not doing the shows anymore. Smashed my foot up. But then as I was healing from that, I went up to Scandinavia and shot some virtual reality stuff in Norway and Sweden. And it was really cool. But then I got turned on to augmented reality, which is, for people who don't know, it's the overlay of digital information onto the real world as seen through your glasses or your mobile device or anything like that. And so I created this game, Escape and Evade Mobile, which is an augmented reality mobile game played through your Apple glasses, your Google Glass, or your mobile device, where you sign in, it's free to play, create an avatar, go outside your house, hit start the hunt, start looking around for footprints and clues and following the cues, tracking down someone, hunting them down and taking them down, finding and disarming booby traps, following deception trails and solving the puzzles until you finally race with your team to capture them before they get away. So I've got a whole presentation on this. Augmented reality, Samsung, Google, Apple, all the big companies are spending billions of dollars on augmented reality technology and software right now, hardware and software. And so the opportunities are huge. Some of the augmented reality games are bringing in insane amounts of money, and it's just going to go up in the next 5 to 10 years. And so we created this augmented reality mobile gaming app based on the skill sets that I used in Manhunt around the world. Great storyline, amazing play where you can hunt your friends can hunt you. You can form guilds, teams. People who can't get outside for whatever reason can be in their basement on their computer designing hunts around the world. A kid in Dayton, Ohio can be designing a hunt in Barcelona, putting in the booby traps, putting in the spoor and the trail to follow, the deception trails, and then people can play that. And then online message boards. It's this whole comprehensive world. And we're launching it in December. And anybody who's interested, please go to escapeandevademobile.com, sign up for all the updates, be part of our beta testing crew on our first releases. And very excited about it.
Well, we got to talk about that a little bit more, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love games like that.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's huge, the potential of what's going to be happening. I mean, Pokemon Go is still going. People think that's jump the shark. It's not. Last year it made $2 billion in in-app purchases. Insane, the people playing and the money that's involved in this whole technology, and the ability to be able to go out and play, still have your screen, still be digitally plugged in, but out there running around, interacting with your friends, making new friends, being part of a hunter force team in your neighborhood, hunting down, people in the next neighborhood, and playing this whole storyline through. I mean, there's massive opportunities.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, that just sounds like a whole lot of fun. I'm a geocacher.
Okay. There you go.
So I really enjoy getting out into the wilderness and going to even in the suburbs and going to find these geocaches. So I mean, that's right up my alley for this, man.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's going to be fantastic, and the whole game is all sketched out. The storyline, the gameplay. You're going to be able to putting in booby traps, putting in deception trails, creating them, disarming them, all kinds of cool stuff. Tracking down friends. Being hunted by people. Let me tell you, the one thing I wanted to do with this game is when I was doing Manhunt, pointing to the wrong side, there it is, those posters. When I was doing Manhunt, the feeling I got running in these woods, having 75 of the best trackers on this Polish Straż Granicze, 75 people, men on horseback, ATVs, dogs, drones, all of them hunting me, trying to take me down for God and country, looking behind me, not seeing anyone, but not knowing if they're behind that tree right there or they're going to drop out of the sky at any moment, was the most terrifying feeling I've ever had. It was exhilarating, but it was also just toe-curlingly terrifying. And I wanted to recreate some of that people can experience that playing a game and doing all the fun things that we do playing games, but also being out there, having people actually hunt them and trying to track them down and take them down.
No kidding. Mysterion wants to know, says, I play a lot of Oculus games. Mm-hmm. Joel, have you ever thought of linking your location-based game data and tying it into the Oculus app, like a coordinator?
I'm not exactly sure what that means, but mine is a location-based, it's a location-based Pokemon type game. Someone asked about Niantic. We've talked to Niantic a few times. I don't know if we're going to use Niantic's what they've built or not, but but that remains to be seen. We have game studios that are already bidding on it. So we'll be going with one of those.
Right on. Good for you, man. Good for you.
Thanks.
I want to shift gears here for a second because, I know the topics of UFOs and all the weird stuff really does interest you. I didn't expect that from you before this interview started when we were talking, but learning about this, I find it very intriguing. As a former Navy SEAL and someone who did a lot of top secret projects and had clearance and everything like that, what do you think of the whole UFO game that's going on right now?
I think they're just, I think they are either disclosing just what they absolutely have to, or I think they're gearing up to use the alien threat as another excuse for global control. I think that whatever disclosure you get from any government source, especially our government here, or the British government.
The people of ServiceNow live to solve problems, and no problem is too big to solve. Governments that need streamlining? You got it. A veterans administration that needs modernizing? No problem. Students in need of in-person learning? Yep, we can help with that too. No matter what monumental challenges you're facing, digital solutions can help you take them on. And now, ServiceNow is helping the medical community take on the greatest challenges of our time, the challenge of turning vaccines into vaccinations. Thankfully, it's a challenge they're rising to. Today, with the help of ServiceNow Digital Solutions, healthcare providers are administering vaccinations safely and efficiently. They're streamlining the process and making getting a shot, well, simple. Learn how ServiceNow is helping our healthcare heroes get vaccines off the shelf and into the arms of the patients who need them. Visit servicenow.com/vaccine to find out more about their vaccine management system.
On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. There ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
Is going to be not just agenda driven, but wholly and completely for one agenda, and that's controlling you. So as far as the UFOs, the physical UFOs, I mean, special access projects, Skunk Works, we were talking about that. I mean, we have all this technology, and we have some of those unidentified flying objects are ours, and others are not. But the government is very heavily involved in all of this. The government and the people controlling the government.
Okay, so with that, and the idea that you are very skeptical about what is actually being hidden, what do you think then of this narrative that we see being played out, where with the DNI report not going beyond 2004 in the the USS Nimitz case that happened there with the F-18s intercepting these Tic Tac craft. I mean, as someone who is in, and I don't know, maybe I'm stuttering here because I'm trying to ask this properly and I don't know how, but as someone who was involved in the darker side of the military with projects and missions and everything like that, do you see this being something that could be dangerous if it's ours or theirs?
I think it's more dangerous if it's ours. I think because it's all tied together. Whether it's the reptilian, the Draco line. I mean, it's all tied together, and it's all. I mean, we got the technology from them, and so. But the fact that all this technology has been kept from us for so long and kept from all the good it could do for society, for the control of a small few with the ultimate goal of just controlling this world's population. I'm much less skeptical of extraterrestrial races than I am our own government and the people controlling this world. But I know that there are extraterrestrial races out there that are not benevolent, but I think the vast majority of them are, especially the ones that are ascended higher than we are. And so I'm welcoming that contact, and I'm looking forward to it and us being able to join that galactic community.
If you're allowed to talk about it, while you were a Navy SEAL, did you ever see any anomalous objects in the sky?
I did not, but several of my close friends, most of them fighter pilots, one of them who was former carrier air wing commander, and some guys with serious access to what's going on with naval aviation. I mean, people spot them on scopes, and pilots have seen them quite often, and it never gets reported because generally they never report it, because you're going to come back to your commander and say, "Hey, man, bunch of aliens, you just saw UFOs flying around." I mean, unless there's a way to document it, and people don't speak up for all the encounters that they have. And a lot of team guys I know have had experiences of seeing things. I never did. I wish I did. I look forward to it. I go out and do the CE5 meditation sometimes with my girl. We go out in the woods and meditate and try and invite some extraterrestrial contact, but it's never happened.
Do you believe then, being a former member of the United States Navy for as long as you were, that they really were not tracking these phenomena?
Oh, no. I think a lot of encounters don't get reported, but I think that the high-level government agencies absolutely are tracking all of this stuff. Without it, how could they not? I mean, they've been tracking this forever, when back to Eisenhower and Roswell and before that, and the contact with the Greys and all that stuff. I mean, they're tracking it all. This is all not unknown to maybe not the governments, but the people controlling the governments and a few people in government.
Yeah, because that's the one thing that, I couldn't believe that people actually fell for when the Navy came out. Whoa, this is new to us. We better take a look at this. We've never had a record book on this, and now we're going to tell our pilots, instead of and our admirals on the ships, instead of throwing those reports in the garbage, let's save them. Let's see what's going on. And the public bought that. They bought it.
Well, we've had not only the MK Ultra and all the mind control stuff, we have had Blue Book and all these projects going on for disclosure or exploration since it began, and every single one of them was just a controlled opposition at best. At worst, just a place to push the propaganda. Nothing is going on, and there is no UFO experience that we're having, and we've not had contact with all these races, and we've not actually shot down UFOs with our high powered radar. I mean, it's all out there. It's so easy to research, and there's lots of very easily readable and engaging books out there that you just read one of them and you're like, okay, nothing's adding up anymore. It's all right out there. But I don't think people are interested enough to dig into it. Or know where to, maybe.
Where would you take it?
Where would I take it? What do you mean?
Like if you got into investigating, with your contacts, with the people where would you take it?
That wouldn't be the path I would go. I'm more interested in the cabal and the origins of that and what ties they have to all the extraterrestrial stuff. I wouldn't take it in that direction, but if I would take it in that direction, I would just start poking around friends and acquaintances that have transitioned out of the military and now are working at some of the alphabet agencies. And I would start, finding out what I could from them, and I'd just start poking around and see what turned up, turning over rocks. Really.
You mentioned that you think a lot of these sightings are technology that the U.S. already has at Skunk Works and other places like that, from Lockheed to Boeing to Grumman and whoever. Where would you like to, or that's the wrong question, but why do you lead to believe that a lot of this technology we're seeing is already ours?
Just the books I've read and things I've put together. It's mostly just following, what other researchers and stuff think and talk about. But I think that you can find glimpses of this technology a lot of places, from ancient stuff to Nikola Tesla to stuff that's being patented right now that you can find. And I don't have a complete picture at all, but what I do is I see puzzle pieces. You see puzzle pieces here and there, random puzzle pieces, and after you see enough of them, you can kind of get an idea of what the picture might be. And then things pop out. You see, just a few weeks ago, there was some picture of, some really freaky craft being pulled out on an 18-wheeler from Skunk Works or something. There's so much out there. I think we've had this technology for a very long time, and most of what we see is government owned. I think most of our real extraterrestrial races we're going to commune with and we're going to, join with. We're not talking as galactic as much as we are interdimensional. And so the physical flying craft, I think a lot of that, when I think of a physical flying craft that's not coming out of some sort of cloaked state, I think immediately that my thought is more than likely it's a government craft.
I don't know if you know the name Luis Elizondo, the gentleman who used to run the Pentagon program for UFOs behind the scenes, and now he's in the public, really championing the cause for disclosure. When you look at somebody like him or other people within the government who are now talking about UAPs on a real basis, that we need to put funding into them, we need a task force, and we need departments to turn over what they know. What do you think of all this?
When they say they need funding for that cracks me up, because if you have any idea what kind of the black budget that goes to this kind of stuff already, there's never been an issue with funding in this kind of arena. Government funding is funding that Congress doesn't have any say in or any idea of what's going on. This is all black project stuff, and it's got plenty of money, and they've been developing it since probably well before Roswell.
So basically, you think the U.S. government is lying about what they know about aliens and UFOs?
1,000%. I would stake my life on that statement right there.
And that doesn't make you feel comfortable?
It doesn't make me. I don't have any issue with the extraterrestrials, except for a few races that have been fairly nefarious. What I have a problem, what I'm more concerned with and more happy to see the end of, is the cabal here on Earth and what's going on with that and the control and all these programs that they are ultimately in control of. The 13 bloodlines, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think all of this is leading?
I think it's leading to an ascension of humanity, of our collective consciousness. I think that everything coming out like it is coming out globally, with disclosure, the extraterrestrials, psychedelic therapies, people waking up just in mass amounts around the world to what the state of the world really is, and seeing through this bullshit veil that's been draped over humanity for so long, that I think that we are on the edge of, we're on the eve of ascension. I think that humanity is going to be ascending, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Oh man, I would love to see you and interview you, because I have a feeling this is a rabbit hole you're going to go down. I really do. I don't think I'm wrong with that, but I would love to interview you in like 6 months on this exact same topic, just to see what you've learned.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is some fascinating stuff, but I'm very positive about our future, our collective future. And I think that, there are a lot of thoughts and people smarter and more insightful than I that have theories about how this is going to play out. But, whether it's going to be a separation of, we're sending into a 5D, fifth density Earth and humanity and leaving some behind that aren't ready to go, that may be one way. We may go into a period of darkness first and then a collective ascension. But I think that all the ancient texts and religions and Mayan calendars and everything are all pointing to this event where humanity transcends and ascends and becomes a different vibrational density. And I think that it has been happening for the last 10 or 15 years, and it's massively accelerating. And the powers that are in control are desperately trying to hang on. And it's just crumbling around their ears. And humanity, we will ascend, and we will ascend.
Awesome. We got about 40 seconds left with you tonight, my friend. And I got to tell you, this show went in so many different directions I didn't expect it to go. And I'm glad it did, Joel. I'm glad it did, because I think we learned a lot about you and what you're all about. And I would love to have you back, man.
I would love to be on. Blessings to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. It's been an absolute pleasure. Go to escapeandevademobile.com. Sign up with your email address. You'll be the first to know all. We're not going to spam you or send you stuff every day, but you will be the first to know on everything Escape and Evade Mobile. And we'll be pulling our beta testers and our first groups from that list. So please sign up. Make me a happy man.
I'm going to do that myself. So thank you so much. Joel Lambert, everybody. Coming up next, the fedora-wearing John Hudson is back. We're going to get into some UFOs right after this with Big Bad John. We'll take care when we come back right from the break here on Spaced Out Radio.
Oh, man. Dave, thank you for having me on.
Dude,
this was fantastic.
That was stellar.
So good. I had a
Stellar.
blast.
We got to do it again. I have a feeling, dude, you're gonna be a big time into the UFOs here soon.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to the contact.
All right. Well, thank you so much, my friend. Let's stay in touch. You're fantastic, and thank you for your service and everything, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your night, man.
All right, you take care. Good night.
Later.
How awesome was he? Joel Lambert, everybody. How awesome was he? All right. Body technician, good morning. Sleazy Bees, what's happening? Sandra, are you okay where you are with the flooding? Carbine's right. How you doing, buddy? Divine Diamond #1. You and I are now Facebook friends. Yes, we are. You're stuck with me now. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Hey, Clam. Oh, there he is. Sonny from the Chop Shop. Sonny, I need to get one of your t-shirts. Is it on your website? I want to get one of your t-shirts. My arm is great now. Well, it's still tender. It's not 100%, but feeling much better. Now I got it right in between my shoulder blades and up into my neck. It's like moving all over. Good morning, gorgeous Elaine from England. Thank you, Mr. Lurks-a-lot. Rock Lobster stream. What's happening over on Twitch? Look at that. There they are. Rock Lobster stream. Brazelhoff. What's happening? Yeah, we got nothing up here, Sandra. Every route up here from the lower mainland is cut off now. So any food coming into my area is going to be coming from Alberta until they can figure it out. Like, it is weirdly weird. But you know what? I mean, like, I saw some idiots out there today on social media. This is all about the pipelines. Has nothing to do with the pipelines, you morons. You ever think of the like million hectares of forest that burned this year? and it's in the mountains, and there's no trees and no root system to suck up that water because all the trees are dead due to fires. I mean, just morons. Absolute morons. Always have to try and get that out there. Fab22 from France. How you doing, bud? Good morning to you. Look at that. Right there. Bonjour. Comment ça va? That's a Quebecois accent. I'm sorry. That's all I got. It's not a Les Paul. I'll get it for you. This is an ARC. Oh, right there. See? So, it's a tad crooked. That's the way it came. I guess it's that way. I don't know. Oh, this thing needs to be tuned. Got a pick around here somewhere. Terrible. Terrible tonight. I was playing with my kid earlier. Fingers don't work very well in this chair. I apologize. I had to retire this guitar, the red one, right there. All right, Thin Lizzy, how are you? I got Doug Stevenson in here. Here we go. Rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, normally, we got the fedora-wearing John Hudson. I think he's having some computer troubles tonight. Trying to hook on up. I was talking to him just a couple of seconds ago, and he'd be like, dude, what? Let's do this thing. And he's like, yeah, I'll be right there. And now he's not here. So we got to figure something out here. What we're going to do here is this. If you're in our audience and you got some questions that you would like old Davey to answer for you while we wait for the fedora-wearing John Hudson, put them in capital letters, and we'll kind of get into it. We will get into it because there's a lot of news that is going on around the world here. And we got to figure it on out. And, you know, that's just the way we got to do it. That's the way we got to do it. John's trying to get things organized here, so that's okay. He'll be here
On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. That ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
At Capella University, Education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
Terribly. But let's, his laptop's giving him some issues here. So, hey, technical issues happen, and that's where we are. So we will get to it. We will get to it. So if you guys have any questions that you kind of want to ask. So yesterday, I was out looking for Sasquatch again. I went out all weekend looking for Sasquatch. Didn't find anything. But when we were driving up this one road, and this is a road that I'm very familiar with. I used to go get my firewood logs from there before they started logging the area. And I'm driving along, and I'm not a pro by any means, okay? I'm not a pro by any means, but I learn a lot from people like Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. I learn a lot from people like Nate Rudd and, a lot of Sasquatch researchers, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and a number of really cool people, okay? I learn about them. And here I am in the forest yesterday, and I'm looking, driving at about 5 miles an hour, 7 kilometers if you're in Canada, and I'm just looking. And all of a sudden, I'm looking into the forest as I'm driving down the road. I got my head out the window, and way deep in, maybe 150, 200 feet in, I see this giant X in the forest. And I stop. I put my vehicle in reverse so I could get back that view. And the thing about it is, okay, there's a lot that could happen. I mean, they could be dead trees, rotted trees, whatever. There was no bark on either of them. But here they were making this beautiful X. So I stop. And I'm kind of looking at the area before that. And all of these little trees are kind of pushed over and rounded. Okay, so I'm thinking, what would our Bigfoot experts do? What would our Bigfoot experts say about this? And I started thinking, well, the bent over trees are a sign that people think that it leads to an area where maybe there's a shelter or something along those lines. Or it could be something very non-supernatural, okay, and very nature-oriented, which would mean that heavy snow falling from the bigger trees that surround this area would pile up on the smaller trees. But what was really weird is we drove up a little bit further, because sometimes nature calls, and I was going to do a turnaround with my vehicle. Got out of the vehicle, and off in the distance, heard a wood knock. That was kind of cool. Just one. Just a big bang. It was in deep in the forest. It wasn't anything that was close to us. But there was that wood knock. So now I have to go out there, and it's a terrible time because today we had like blizzard conditions out here. But I have to go make time on Thursday where I'm going to go out in the forest and I'm going to go take a look. I have to. I'm going to bring one of my outdoor buddies, my tracking buddies with me. And it's going to be cool. It may be nothing. Maybe nothing at all. But it could be something. And that is what we have to look for. Because my other two Bigfoot sites, The one I haven't been to since before the forest fires here. Got to try and get back in there one more time. But this one here, my original one, I've been to it twice, and it's just heartbreaking since they logged all around it and missed my gifting site by about 8 feet. Literally 8 feet. But this new area, I was talking to my buddy Mark, and I said, Mark, you know, we had action at the first site and the second site. Where should I go? And he pointed me in that direction. And that's where I found maybe X does mark the spot. I mean, we're not talking small trees here either. We're talking like 8-10 inches around, fallen together in a beautiful X. At least that's the way it looks from the road. I mean, once you go in there, I didn't go in there that deep because I'm unarmed. But maybe when we get in there that deep, they may be 5 feet, 6 feet apart. Who knows? May it just look that way from the road. But you have to look and you have to take the time to take the sights in to see if that would be a place or could be a possibility of some sort of marking left by Sasquatch. You never know. It could be. That's what I'm hoping for. Because Lord knows I am bored of going into the forest and not seeing a thing or hearing a thing. You know? I look like an idiot out there banging away on trees, smacking them all around, and you hear nothing. Nothing. So we're going to go look. And hopefully the snow holds off just enough so we can get out there. Because I really, really want to know. I really want to know. And I think that's a good way to do it. What do you guys think? Duke in the chat room from World Bigfoot Radio says, they have to be touching, yep, as in the X trees. All bark and branches missing and equal circumference is a very strong sign. So we got to go look. Rock Lobster is asking, Dave, is the answer more important than the search? No, because at first, I have to think about this one. At first, we have to figure out if that is truly an area. If it's not an area, then we can't look for the answers. Or, in this case, try and make communication. Can't do that. Cannot do that. We got to be able to find that location, maybe find that tracking area, that deer trail or something that leads to a path. Now, there is something interesting in that area along that road. There is an active trapping area along that road. So we need to make sure that we aren't entangling ourselves in that trapping area. And I know from listening to other people from our area who have had encounters state that trapping areas are like a highway for the Sasquatch, at least in this area. They are following the traps and the trap lines. It's easy food. But who knows what else? Who knows what else? We just got to keep going. It's kind of boring out there when you keep going out there and nothing is happening. Right? You just can't keep doing it. You just can't. Just one of those things, man. It's just one of those things. So we'll keep trying it out. Hopefully later this week or by next week I'll have some answers for you. I'd like to, but we will see. We will literally see. All right, let's see if we can get to some news here. I think John's computer is still acting up. Here we go. All right, we're going to get to Shirky Poo's news a little early here tonight because that's kind of what we do every now and again. And why not? Why not? It's a lot of fun here on the News Wire because Shirky Poo has us all cuddled up, ready for the big time news. And hey, she's got some good stuff for us tonight. All right, let's get to a weird one here right off the bat. Remember Oumuamua? Remember Avi Loeb from Harvard, who's now part of the Orion, or pardon me, what's it called? Not the Orion Project. Why can't I think about it? Now I got to Google it. Avi Loeb, UFOs. All right. What the heck is his project called? Galileo Project. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for finding that. All right. Remember when he took all the heat about whether or not there was going to be Oumuamua? And he took a ton of heat saying that, hey, we can't rule out aliens here. And everybody was like, no, it's just a big chunk of ice that's a weird shape. And everybody else was like, no, we got aliens. And, yeah, it was a big argument. Well, finally, this is getting a little savage here. All right, a little savage. Because the scientific community has long debated about what it is, and now they're saying it's not ice. A team of researchers, including Harvard astrophysicist, who might that be, suggested Oumuamua was a light sail sent from another civilization. Note, there's not enough nitrogen in the known universe to make an object that size. It is believed Oumuamua was somewhere between 300 and 3,000 feet in length and could be anywhere between 115 and 548 feet thick. As such, it's likely that it's not a chunk of a Pluto-like exoplanet that broke off 400 billion years ago, as some have posturized. No, the necessary mass of heavy elements exceeds the total quantity locked in stars with a 95% confidence rating, making the scenario untenable because only a small fraction of the mass in the stars ends in exoplutos, the study researchers Amir Siraj and Avi Loeb wrote. A number of theories, including that it is a hydrogen iceberg or nitrogen iceberg, have been postulated, and about the original origins of the composition of the oblong cigar-shaped Oumuamua since it was first discovered in October of 2017. See? We got aliens. Just telling you. In the solar system, pure nitrogen has only been found on Pluto, and if all the pure nitrogen came from another Pluto-like planet that are believed to exist, it still wouldn't be enough to make Oumuamua. Yep. Loeb says, we show that there's not enough nitrogen in all the stars within the Milky Way to account for a large enough population of icebergs that would explain the discovery of Oumuamua. Oumuamua was first discovered on October 17th, 2017, flying at a speed of nearly 57,000 miles an hour, making it likely that it did not originate in this solar system. Let's move on here. All right. A photographer in Zurich, Switzerland, spotted the glowing object while 4 SpaceX astronauts returned to Earth thousands of miles away. On the night of Monday, November 8th, a photographer in Zurich, Switzerland, who goes by the Twitter handle @EAVIX1EAVIX, aimed his camera in the sky and snapped several pictures of what he aptly described as a donut UFO. Composed of several bright blue concentric rings, the flying object looked as much like a spacecraft, as a breakfast treat. The photographer suspected he had actually glimpsed SpaceX's Endeavour capsule, which was scheduled to return to Earth that night with 4 astronauts who had just concluded a 200-day stay on the International Space Station. Now, British tabloid site The Daily Mail even included the eerie photos in a roundup of Endeavour sightings the next day. But the problem with this story is when Endeavour capsule splashed down a little after 10:30 p.m. Eastern that night, it landed half a world away in the Gulf of Mexico, more than 5,000 miles from Zurich. Uh-oh, maybe Zurich's got aliens. Yep. While the spectators in Louisiana, Alabama, and several other Gulf states saw clear views of the capsule streaming across the sky, it's almost impossible that anyone in Switzerland had noticed. Any passes of Endeavour over Switzerland prior to landing that night would have been completely in Earth's shadow. It would not have been illuminated by the sun, and hence not visible. Re-entry itself was over Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico, and would have not been visible from Switzerland either. The deorbit burn prior to re-entry was over the Indian Ocean, and so not visible from Switzerland again. So if the donut UFO wasn't a SpaceX craft, then what was it? According to Lambert, the unidentified flying object may not have been flying at all. It may have been a garbled image of a distant star. I'm pretty sure that the donut UFO on the Swiss images is an out-of-focus bright star, said Mr. Lambert. Of course he did, because he is a cranky fellow who doesn't want to believe that aliens are here. Thank you, Marco Langbrook, for breaking our hearts. Moving on, a mysterious metal box that washed up on a Florida beach might be an old ballast tank from a ship. Visitors to Playa Linda Beach in Brevard County said they first noticed the large rusted item in the Boardwalk No. 7 area on Friday. It looks like an oil drum of some sort. Big drum, witness Tom O'Shea said. Christine Elfie, resource manager for the Canaveral National Seashore, said officials aren't sure what the object is, but it might have once served as a ship's ballast tank, a compartment that holds water to stabilize the vessel. That's our best guess at this point. Canaveral says that it determined the 20-foot-long box is empty, so it does not pose a health risk to the public. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Very weird. You know, we have these big storms here in British Columbia, and this is actually kind of scary here, as if you haven't noticed or seen the footage of this, it's kind of freaky, because in Vancouver, while the storms, the rain dropped literally a couple hundred millimeters of rain, over near Stanley Park, they actually had a barge that was anchored into the harbor release its anchor in the heavy storm, and it's drifted into the beach of Vancouver. Yeah, the barge at English Bay, which is a beautiful area to visit, a beautiful beach, was just caught by this massive storm. And the runaway vessel ended up crashing into the seawall near Sunset Beach of Vancouver. The city said the Burrard Street Bridge will be closed due to risk of the barge at Sunset Beach coming loose again and colliding with it. The city went on to say plans were underway to tow the barge off the shore. According to the Canadian Coast Guard, the barge's owner has been contacted and is planning to retrieve it at first available opportunity. They don't even know how stuck it is yet. Coast Guard is not aware of any persons on board nor risk of any pollution, said Michelle Imbo. It has been confirmed that there are no hydrocarbons on board either. All right, we got that fixed. That's good. Here we go. Let's get to the thought of the day, which is, how would you survive an alien apocalypse? Connor, same way Zeke from the faculty did. Jim, by sucking up to them and helping them out, betraying mankind. Nikki, depends on the race and aliens we're dealing with. Let's go to Gregory. Hypothetically, I'd be hooking up with our Keith Andrews to see if we can both BS our way out of oblivion. Jim, anal probed versus anal cord? I'm going with probed. Very nice. We appreciate that. Thank you so much to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news. And, of course, to our guest tonight, Joel Lambert, talking survival. What it was like to be a Navy SEAL for a decade. Can you imagine what that did to his body? Wow. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyrighted by Space Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
On December the 3rd, I tested positive for COVID. I was to the point where I really couldn't even walk.
She was admitted to the Tupelo Hospital. That's where she remained for 82 days.
That was the first time they told Reggie he could come see me.
I nearly lost my wife. I mean, that's real. There ain't no false information. And I don't want to see you lose a loved one.
Sponsored by Delta Health Alliance. Go to getyourshotms.org.
The General Insurance presents Ordering a Sandwich with Shaq and Hall of Fame announcer Michael Buffer.
I'm going to have roast beef. What do you want, Michael?
Let's get ready for pastrami on rye.
Turns out, Michael Buffer talks like that all the time. And it turns out, The General is a quality insurance company that's been saving people money for nearly 60 years.
Spicy Dijon mustard.
For a great low rate and nearly 60 years of quality coverage, make the right call and go with The General.
The General Auto Insurance Services, Inc., an insurance agency, Nashville, Tennessee. Some restrictions apply.